Hello, Miss Slovia. Do I sound okay? That's what I'm going to check right now before I do literally anything else because I don't want to sound like a robot, and I usually do when I live stream, so it's always an issue. Living up here where I do never does what I want it to do, so let's see this. Hold on. Living up here where I do never does what I want it to do, so let's see this. Hold on. So far, it's okay. But hopefully somebody can tell me if it doesn't. So, I'm going to start with a couple people who I feel like on Noah's stream I did stuff I didn't really mean what I said. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start with a couple other people. So I'm gonna do the controversial people first, or those who I consider to be controversial, and see where that leads us. Do I still sound okay? Please let me know. But I'm gonna start with RK Outpost because Ryan Kennel. Everybody who I've ever talked to says that he's a great guy, and I have no reason to not believe that. According to Jeremy in Noah's stream, Ryan is filled to the brim with the utmost knowledge and understanding of the expanded universe, like an in-depth knowledge. And whenever he's on Matt Wilkins' streams, like the Civilized Age and whatnot, he is great. He has good chemistry with the people on the streams, and he's very knowledgeable. That being said, what does his channel consist of? Really nothing to do with Star Wars. It's not even a channel dedicated to hating on Disney Star Wars. I mean, that happens occasionally. The majority of it has almost nothing to do with Star Wars. Like, almost nothing to do with Star Wars. And I get it. You know, it's his job now. You know, make some money. And I get that and I understand that. But as that is, you know, he was one of the originals, though. He started making videos on Geeks and Gamers and his own channel talking about the expanded universe, which was great for the time. But as of 2023, RK really doesn't talk about it. However, I don't know. See, I try to make my list a little bit more kinder than other ones. So, because of what he used to do in the fandom, and because he still is a great resource on Matt Wilkins' channel, whatnot, when it comes on, I'm gonna give him a C. Does he have more subscribers than me? Absolutely. But seeing as how he doesn't talk about Star Wars that often, I don't know how he could really put him any higher than C. Now, I know there's going to be a bunch of people who hate Ryan Kennel because political reasons or whatnot, and they're going to be upset with me for that, but that's where I decided to leave him. If you don't like it, make your own tier list. That's all I have to say to you. And then another one, aka More Than Noah's. Yeah. Dark greetings. In case anybody would like to join, hey, my man. I wanted to make my own because I wanted to be a bit different than everybody else's. So, but if anybody would like to join, there is the link. But am I sounding okay? That's one thing I need to know in the comment section. I need you guys to let me know if I'm sounding like a robot, because it happens so freaking frequently here. It's very frustrating. But, you know, I wanted to do my own because... Okay, so far I sound okay, but no robot so far. Please, Quinlan and whoever's here, keep me updated, okay? If I'm sounding like a robot, you need to let me know ASAP. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So far, good? Okay. I'm going to get the other controversial one out of the way. Where is she? Okay. OG Star Wars. When I was on Noah's stream, I feel like I sounded a bit harsher than I meant to. I've since talked to her because I felt convicted. I felt a little like I was a bit harsher than I actually meant to be. Even though it was all in good fun and whatnot. But, like, when I actually talked to her about what the stuff that we kind of critiqued her on, it made a lot more sense. She said, like, with the whole, like, Verge being a Sith, she said, since the time that Darkness was being written, that was the thing that was changed, which is not inherently wrong. though I would still disagree that even the books themselves completely confirm that. But as far as her argument goes that this was Lucasfilm's direction since Darkness, she's not wrong. That was a direction because Troy Denning was at the helm, so she's not wrong about that. So I can't actually critique her for that. And the same thing with Jason's arc. She says it all comes from after NGO when different writers took over. That's the direction that Lucasfilm took. That's what she told me privately, which is a lot more reasonable than how we all made it sound on Noah's stream. That's fair. But yeah, so the only real critique I have of OG, and this is all fine. I think she's great. I think she's a kind person. My biggest issue is simply that she critiques the Disney canon, and this is just my thing. I just when you're going to do that, when you're going to make expanded universe content, especially for the movement of Give Us Legends, right? If you're not going to actually take the time to read it, then you don't have a right to critique it. That's just my take. Like, for example, I disagree with Noah entirely on the Denning verse, right? But at the very least, he read it. So he has a right to talk some crap. But if he had never read it, then he doesn't have the right. That's my feeling. And so I know OG doesn't watch Disney canon because she doesn't like it, and rightfully so. I think it's garbage too. But I don't talk about it because I don't watch it. And I don't feel the need to compare it to the old. If the expanding universe is ever going to be continued, which I really hope it does one day. And there's also another like sentiment that I think she's had sometimes. I don't know. I'm not confirming this, just that like with Disney at the helm, it probably wouldn't be good. And maybe that's true. Maybe it's not. But for the fans that want more expanding universe content to come out, the only way that's going to happen is by spreading the love of the old, which she does, which is why I wanted to, change some things, because she talks about the EU a lot consistently with her followers, and that's great. That's what we need. My only issue is when she compares it to the new or anything, or critiques the new stuff and what it's doing, because I know she doesn't actually sit down and watch it because she has no interest, just like I don't. But if you're going to have an EU channel, I think the best way to make our community flourish is to simply talk about the old and love the old. Because here's the thing, if the EU is ever going to be expanded and continued, the only way that consistently is going to happen is if we don't alienate the people who like the new. So like, I may not like it. I may think it's garbage. I'm never going to touch it. But people that do enjoy it, people that do like the Disney canon, I want them to feel included. Be like, hey, it's fine if you like that stuff. I don't care about it. You do you. But here's this amazing expanded universe, this alternate timeline that has amazing stories that I think you should check out, and I think that's the best way moving forward for the expanding universe. Oh, sorry, a bunch of people said stuff. Well, no, so Noah did like a big live stream that included all that stuff. I see Scott is here, so hold on 1 second. Hello, Scott.
Hello there. Are we doing this ranking thing all over again? Was once too many times? I think once was enough, but we'll do it again. Can you hear me? I think you're muted.
I don't know what that happened. But yeah, no, I just didn't agree necessarily with all the takes, and I wanted to do my own. So.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah.
Like, I shouldn't have been in B tier, so I need to be lower. So I needed to correct that, and there's some other things, but yeah.
I think it's dishonest to rank yourself. I think you should exclude yourself from the voting. Maybe have the chat.
Yeah, maybe have them do it.
Yeah,
maybe. Yeah. Noah though, he had to put himself at number 1 because he's Noah. So.
So I just tuned in. Who do you have so far? I see Ryan Kills at C. I think that's a little low.
Well, so my reasoning was that all of his content really nowadays has nothing to do with Star Wars, outside of hating on the new. And since this is more of an EU ranking tier list, I mentioned at the beginning he has extensive knowledge of the expanded universe, and he's consistently great on like Matt's Civilized Age. But since his actual content doesn't really have that much to do with Star Wars, I figured he couldn't get more than a C.
That's fair.
Yeah.
The thing when we did it on Saturday, what I wasn't clear about is like the criteria kind of changed. It was kind of fluid as it went along. We started ranking them solely based on their own EU channel content, and then it kind of fluctuated to, did they start this Discord channel? Did they start this, video game mod, or did they appear on other channels? So I would rank Ryan probably A if we're just talking about his influence overall, his appearance on other channels. But I don't watch his own channel personally.
Yeah,
so I can't judge.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I mean, it is a YouTuber tier list, but at the same time, I do acknowledge he has a lot. So if we're just going, if I was to make a ranking of influences within the community, I would probably put him in A as well.
Okay.
But for the purposes of just being a YouTube channel, I'm leaving him there. And Quinlan Voss, absolutely. I think the best way of going about the stuff is to ignore Disney canon if you don't like it. Because I was saying earlier too, with because I'm currently trying to figure out where I'm going to put OG Star Wars. And like, I think she's great. She says a lot about the expanded universe. She talks about the expanded universe all the time. My biggest issue is just when she tries to compare it to the new stuff, when I know she doesn't watch it. Like, if she watches the new stuff, then that's fair. Everybody has a right to critique stuff that they watch, like I did with Bounty Hunter Wars, because I hate Bounty Hunter Wars, but I sat through and read it, so I have the right to critique it. But I just don't, I feel like if you're like, you should just take the Matt approach. If you're not going to watch the new stuff, then you shouldn't talk about the new stuff or hate on the new stuff. It's just kind of my personal take. And I think if we're going to get the expanded universe continued, then we got to not do that. So that way people who do like the new could come into the community and like be like, oh, here's an alternate timeline that they can enjoy while not feeling alienated because they like the new. Because I don't want to do that to people. It's kind of my take. Am I sounding like a robot?
No, you sound fine.
Okay.
So
okay.
just some brief thoughts on OG Star Wars. I used to watch her channel, but at the time, I think she was reviewing the Brian Wood series, and she didn't know how it kind of broke the continuity. She didn't seem to know. I put some stuff in the comments, and she's like, "What are you talking about?" So I kind of feel like she isn't real clear on some of the more recent stuff, like post buyout EU, how that whole sort of thing changed. So I quit watching after that, and she kind of talked down the Titan collection of the short stories. Oh. And I don't think she knew which ones were canon, which ones were legends to begin with. So yeah, I don't watch her channel, but she's fine on Matt's content. So
yeah. I mean, I still watch her content. Whenever it has something to do with comparing like the new stuff, I usually tend to ignore it. But whenever she's just like purely talking about the EU, I'll come check in for a few minutes. Usually when she live streams, I'm busy, so like at work or something, so I can't really see it. But I watch it archived. So I think with that, if I'm being consistent with my list, since she actually talks about the EU more consistently than RK does, I would put her at B, which I think is fair. I would. She talks about it pretty equally, so I'm not going to put her in the tier where it's they talk about canon more than the EU. So, which I changed the tier, but I didn't want any E's or F's because I don't think that many people deserve it. And worst of all time is only going to a handful of people on this list, so mine's a bit more.
Let me just ask you, why would you put her ahead of Ryan, though?
Because her content is actually about the EU on her channel.
Okay, all right.
That's my main thing. Yeah.
So we're just taking into consideration their own channel, not their appearances on other channels.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I have mentioned stuff about that. I want to make sure that that's talked about and shown and properly appreciated. But for the purposes of this tier list, I'm not considering that a factor into the ranking. That's kind of how I'm going about it. Okay, now I'm just going to go in order. Quality autism. So this is Noah. So some accolades he's done outside of YouTube, which aren't going to affect the ranking, but I just want to mention. He wrote a Jedi Prince fan fiction conclusion, which was wonderful. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was better than all of Jedi Prince, actually. So that was pretty great. He also made an entire book that chronicled the timeline post Return of the Jedi, which was really great. He has been on Matt Wilkins' live streams multiple times. He's collaborated with other YouTubers like Stupid Chainsaw Productions. And he has a lot of live streams focused on the expanded universe. He does get docked some points for hating Denning. Actually, it's not really. I'm not going to do that to him like he did to me, but that is a negative in my point of view. But he is pretty prolific. He's got more subscribers than me, for one, so that's pretty important. However, a detriment is that half of his videos are in a language that most people can't understand unless they speak German. So that is a hindrance. But what do you think, Scott? Where do you think quality
So
autism ranks?
quality autism. When I look at his channel individually, most of his content's in German.
Yeah.
So that's a negative for me. It may not be a negative for someone who speaks German, but since I can't view or I can't understand a lot of his content, that's a huge negative. He does some great stuff on Matt's channel. He does some great live streams on other channels. He's very knowledgeable. I think he's read all the books or pretty close to it.
Hmm.
So, I mean, given all that, I'd give him a B. Just weighted all together. I just maybe
That's
make it a B.
that's pretty much what I was thinking. So yeah, I'm gonna happily place him at B.
He says it's a
Um,
superior language there in the chat. I mean, it may be,
yeah.
but I can't understand it. So
Yeah, that's funny. Uh, I don't know, but I decided to do my own because I was like, I don't know. I didn't necessarily agree with all the takes in the other one, so I wanted to properly get my thoughts out there. Wait, well, you're docking points from him for being German. That's germophobic. No, well, I mean,
is
so
it if I can't understand it? I mean, I don't
yeah.
think so.
Well, here's the thing, though. If you're trying to have a channel that's promoting the expanded universe, you want as much people as possible to be able to participate in that. And when half of your audience can't even understand what it is that is in your videos, then that I do think that's a legitimate point to knock. Maybe you know to speak English, so maybe you should just make videos in English.
Or at least
You know,
include subtitles. I don't know if YouTube
yeah,
allows subtitles, but that would go a long way.
yeah, well, yeah. Darth Matu's Holocron. So there's stuff outside of YouTube that I don't really want to get into, but there's been some stuff recently with Legends Con that's been an issue for some people, and I don't really want to get into that. I know that's affected some people's personal opinions on that I've talked to privately and outspokenly, but I don't want to include that as a point of discussion here because I don't think that's important. It was just purely his content. And he does talk about the expanding universe a lot. He also talks about other stuff like Halo and does a lot of gaming videos and whatnot. But he puts a lot of effort into his videos when he does, and he speaks English, which is something above Noah there. So, um, I think he'd be a respectable C or B. I don't know if you know him, Scott.
I've dealt with him in Discord. Guy's
Yeah.
kind of an asshole, so
Oh, oh, oh.
I don't care for him. But I don't watch his YouTube content, so I can't comment on that.
Oh, well, that's yeah. Well, I think he's fine. I've certainly had my issues when I've talked to him in a political religion chat, which I probably shouldn't because that's just a recipe for disaster. But I have an issue where I have to have the last word, and so that's my fatal flaw. So I've gone back and forth with him, but he still, at the end of the day, has remained kind to me. So I will not delve into whether or not he's a jerk or not. I'll let other people make their own opinions on that. But what I will say is that he does make pretty good content. And so I'm struggling either between C or B. So,
Chat, help us out. C or
yeah,
B?
C or B for Darth Matu. I'm aiming toward B, but I feel like I'm biased because I know him. You only got 3 people watching, so we'll see if anybody actually says anything. But while we're waiting, I changed the tier list a bit because before it was D, E, and F. I changed it to top 5 all time. That remains the same, A, B, and C. And I have room to move up. This is mainly removed for people that don't have that much content, but who could become an A or a B or an S even, given enough time. More canon than the EU it applies to whether or not they're hating on canon more than talking about the EU, or if they're just talking about canon in general more than the EU. And obviously, don't know them is pretty self-explanatory. So I have no opinion on whether or not they're great or not. And then worst of all time.
Well, I would probably put OG in the more canon than EU, right? If that's all she talks about. I don't watch her channel anymore, but if what I hear about is true.
On her channel, she's pretty 50-50.
Okay.
So I feel like that's not enough to rank more canon than EU. On Twitter, perhaps on social media, she may speak more about canon, but as for her actual content, it's pretty 50-50.
All right.
So
Noah's saying C for Matu. So
okay. Well, since he's the only one there, I'm gonna put him in C, but I could be convinced to easily put him in B, is what I'll say for that. Iron Inquisitor. So I also talked about him in Noah's stream. This is all outside stuff from his content, so it doesn't really matter. But I do think, the story of Star Wars to me is redemption with Vader and everything being redeemed at the end of the movies. There was some drama that happened a couple years ago. This is before I was even really a part of the fandom with Matt and stuff and B Level and all Dark Synovia, all that stuff. Don't need to get into that. But Iron Inquisitor was a young kid at the time. He was being influenced by people and whatever. But he's since then recanted of all that, and he seems like a pretty genuine, nice guy. And he makes videos that include like possible retcons for TCW, which we desperately need because TCW is a whole mess. And makes good defending the expanding universe always being canon videos as well in recent memory. So do you know a lot about Iron Inquisitor?
I don't. I've been on some streams with him. Don't know a lot about him. I think he was associated with Dark Synovia. I don't know when he recanted all that stuff or how that went about. But I'll defer to the chat again because I don't know enough about him. I've never watched his videos. I have interacted with him limitedly, but not extensively.
I think he's a solid C because he doesn't upload that frequently either, which I think is also a dock against if you don't upload consistently. So I'll give it another second, but I think I'm just going to place him in C for now. Up next, we have Holocron Keeper Evan. Now, I actually don't know too much about him. I've seen some of his stuff. I know he's one of the OGs of like early Expanded Universe content. And his big thing is like
he's like 26.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, he's one of the ones that was making content like shortly after the buyout, like 2014, 2015. Was my, but I know his like big thing is trying to make TCW fit perfectly in the expanded universe or whatever, like that timeline thing, which is commendable because it's TCW. So, but yeah, I don't know too much about him, but do you know a lot about Evan?
So Evan's a friend. He has stated some stuff in the past about supernatural encounters not being official EU, which I very much disagree with. I think that's incredibly problematic, and I don't know how he went about getting that idea, but I don't know. He doesn't make content really anymore. I mean, they're live streams, but they're just him going over his Clone Wars ideas. Room to move up, I'd say.
Yeah. So you'd place him at a C?
No, I put him in the room to move up.
A room to move up?
Yeah.
That's fair. But
he's got to rethink some of his positions on supernatural encounters.
Yeah, I know. I think Only Good Games. He's another person on the list that we'll get to. He's a good guy though. Has similar sentiments about supernatural encounters.
I'd like to know why he thinks that. If he's open to elaborating in the chat or if he can come on.
He is obsessed with having TCW fit. That was like his huge thing back in the day. Was trying to make that all connect and fit, which I mean I think is admirable because it is canon no matter what you think of the show. So we have to try to reconcile that and make that all work. That's what the EU writers would have done had the EU still been going. So yeah, I mean I'm eating meeny miny mo on C or because I feel like he's one of the first ones to start making content. And I feel like it's kind of mean to play someone room to move up, but it's a toss up.
That's not necessarily a dig at him, right? It's just he's got to rethink some of his positions and his ideas with Clone Wars. Yes, Clone Wars is expanded universe, but any attempt to fit it in is really just a fan theory because we don't have an official timeline of where it takes place. We have things from the was it the Essential Reader's Companion that placed the books in relation to like the TCW tie-in books, but left out the comics. So we don't know really where the Republic comics match up in relation to things like Wild Space. So
True.
yeah,
I
it's
tried
a
my
mess.
best with it. I tried my best. I still was flabbergasted going through the Clone Wars era. I tried my best, but unfortunately, I got to a part where I read the like one of the last Boba Fett young adult novels, and I had watched the seasons of TCW because what I tried to do was I threw all of TCW into the final year of the war because I felt like that was the only way I could cope because Anakin has longer hair, he has this scar already, and I didn't know how you could fit that anywhere earlier because having to go between that and the Republic comics where he has short hair and stuff and is still a Padawan seemed like a big issue to me, so I couldn't place it any earlier in my head without wanting to die. So that's what I did, and it still did not work perfectly because then um, Ventress had been portrayed by Dooku in the show, and then I read the final Boba Fett book, and she was still around doing stuff. So I was like, oh man. So it's a whole issue with TCW there.
Yeah, you're gonna have problems, particularly with the Obsession comic. That just
Yes,
throws a
that
wrench in things.
when I read Obsession, I was like, oh god, no, everything's broken. Like, how much do I have to ignore from TCW in order to be able to enjoy this? Because like she was like a bounty hunter, I guess, or something for a time on TCW, and that
Right.
didn't match up. And I was like, oh no,
The
nothing's
thing,
working.
yeah, the thing is, at the beginning, Padme notices Anakin's scar at the very beginning of the comic, and
Right.
then you know the Dreadnoughts of Rendeli incident had just happened, and
Yeah.
you know Quinlan Voss or the Quinlan Voss incident where he's with Asajj Ventress, and I think it's Tolscore, or whatever the other acolyte is. Like that, it
Mm-hmm.
happens right after that. So Asajj Ventress is assumed dead, and then she appears right after. So it's a mess. There's a lot of continuity trouble with that.
Yes, thank God that Ventress and Quinlan Voss becoming lovers is only Disney canon. That would have been the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that's not canon to the EU. But back on topic. The next one is full frontal fiction with 20 subscribers. I don't know anything about them. I don't know if you do.
No, doesn't sound like an
Yeah,
EU channel at all to me. Sounds like
no, it
something else.
doesn't. Yeah, so I'm gonna be honest. It could be great. They could be one of the best EU channels ever, but I know nothing about them, so I'm gonna put them in don't know them. Next up, we have Callum Jones, who I know for years has made a lot of EU content. He's been a bit lacking in the last year or so, but life gets busy sometimes. He also had me on an awesome, my first ever tabletop session that I got to do with him, where it was during the Rebellion era. This doesn't count in favor for him or against him. I just wanted to mention it. It was during the Rebellion era, and we were rebels trying to stop some Imperial base thing. But I played as Ewok, which was really funny. Of course, called Yub Nub, and he was super good with stealth and stuff. And I would like consistently roll and be hidden in the dark, like everybody else would get captured. And I was so small, I could just hide in the dark. No one could find me. My whole thing was I tried to make it be that I had gotten kidnapped during the prequel era by the slavers that you see in the Jedi Quest comic book with Anakin.
Mm-hmm.
That they had come to Tatooine real quick and they'd stolen some kids. But that something went wrong on the ship, so I went adrift in space, and some humans found me and raised me, which I thought was really funny. So I just wanted to mention that. It was really fun though with him. But he made a lot of EU reviews and content for a long time. So I don't know how much you know about Callum, but
So Callum used to be on Matt's channel all the time, and then for whatever reason he sort of dropped off over the last couple of years. I don't know if he's still doing videos. He did a video with Christopher Nelson a while back. There was some weird music over top of it. It's kind of funny, but
yeah.
I mean he knows his EU. He's
Yeah.
definitely a very knowledgeable fan. But I would put him in the I don't know enough about them because I don't really watch his individual content.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think I'd put him in probably B because he knows his stuff and he did a lot of reviews for a long time. Oh well, then again, he's not making content now, so maybe I'll leave him in C or not as much content. You know what? Just because it's my tier list and frig it, I'm gonna put him in B. I think he's well earned it. But yeah, that's just my take. But up next to be, I wouldn't have to question it. He's easily going um uh in A tier. Um for the simple fact he's doing something all other people do. And what he's doing is interviewing, expanding universe YouTubers. Is kind of how he started. Which is
Sorry,
really cool.
I gotta go, Alex. Got
Oh,
a
it's
work
okay.
call, so I gotta
Oh,
take care
okay.
of something. See you.
All right. Well, thanks for being on. All righty. Now it's just me again. Good morning. But yeah, Stevie B, he's doing something not, he's even though he's less subscribers than like a lot of us, he is introducing, his audience to more EU YouTubers, and he himself is diving deeper into the EU. He does like canon still, which is fine, but his channel seems to be predominantly now more EU stuff than canon, though there's nothing wrong with it. But no, he's a really genuine guy, a really cool guy, and he's interviewed all of us, and I just think it's really unique because I mean nobody else really interviews us randos. So it's been really cool getting to talk about the expanded universe, how we got into it, what makes us tick, why we fell in love with it, and all of that. So I think he respectively deserves that A spot personally. Up next, we go down here. We have Surfer 76. He's also a more recent YouTuber. He just started making content and all that, but he consistently has made. He was making other videos for time. Like I remember I watched one of his videos that was about the sequel to Nightmare Before Christmas. That was a fun video, and maybe I actually want to read it. But since like kind of getting into, I don't know, he joined I think one Discord of two Star Wars nerds, and then I invited him to other ones, and since then he's like consistently just pumped out expanding universe video after expanding universe video, and you can tell he's super knowledgeable, has known about the expanding universe for a long time, been a fan of it for a long time, and he's just making great stuff, and I expect more great stuff to come. And to be honest, I don't expect it going downhill from here. So I'm gonna do it again. I'm going to give Surfer an A, and that's just me. Do I still sound good or do I sound like a robot? Let me know. Actually, I'm going to double check real quick on that one. Um, let me check that. How do I sound? How do I sound? I think I still sound okay. Alrighty. Moving on next, we have Fine Editions. This is a podcast channel that has just started. I'm a little biased because he invited me onto a podcast episode focused on the prelude to Rebellion in comics, along with Quinlan Voss. But there's not that much content at the moment. So I'm going to put it in room to move up with a pretty much guarantee that if it keeps going the way it's going, Fine Editions is going to be an A tier. That's what I'm going to say there. Lance L. The Star Wars EU teen in quotation marks as much as freaking possible. He's on Lent right now, so he won't be able to say jack squat till he comes back. But Lance, I mean, again, we're Oh, how long has it been muted? Wait, how long has it been muted? Do I sound like a robot now? Well, anyway, the point is, oh frick, I don't know why that did that. Well, anyway, Lance, Lance is a man who makes exceptional content on Instagram. As for YouTube, he doesn't have that much. He has a bunch of live streams, but the live streams are primarily random EU discussions. Now, Lance calls himself the Star Wars EU teen on Instagram, yet has only read about 1/3 of the expanded universe. So I just don't know if he's deserving of that title. But that being said, for YouTube itself, he doesn't make that much content. And that being said, I'm going to put him at a respectable B because he's also, um, I'm not trying to let it influence my ranking, but he has been on Matt Wilkins streams and talked to Christopher Nelson and done all that stuff. So like he's influential for sure. But seeing as how his content, much like half of Quality Autism's content, is just 9, 9, 9, 9, like there's not a lot there to actually digest, but he's super influential and easily deserves a B tier spot in my opinion. Now we have Protector Titus. Titus is big on the Discords. However, the thing with Titus is he has 0 content right now. Titus has been heavily influenced by somebody else on this list because he plans on making versus battles type of content, but he has not officially done that yet. But that's what he plans on doing. So with all that, I'm going to put him in room to move up with the potential of being a B or A. That's what I'll say there. 999. Yeah, that's Noah. That's facts, right? That's like half of his language. 999. Hey, for Scheiße. Scheißen, na little Dukenogen. I don't know. I don't know. Oh man, that's fun. Anyway, 999. How do you say it? Nine, nine, nine. I don't know how to speak your German language. I can't even speak Spanish, and I'm 75% Hispanic, so piss off. Then we have Sea Spider. I'm gonna pretty much iterate oh my gosh, I cannot talk. Okay, I'm going to pretty much say what I said in Noah's stream. If you want to experience the expanded universe from a different perspective, because if you've read everything, you'll never be able to read it again the same because you've already read it. So the only way to truly experience it through a new set of eyes is through someone who's never read it before. And that's Sea Spider. He's also the youngest expanded universe fan that I know of that's making content. And so, again, I'm going to put him in the room to move up with the potential to be a B or an A. But he is going through the entire expanded universe, so that is definitely something. Did I? Is that what that means? That's funny. That's funny. Hey, well, I guess it's cussing, but I didn't realize, so I won't count it on myself. Only good games. So, another fantastic guy. He makes topical videos on the expanded universe. He also makes videos on Yu-Gi-Oh, which, that's not going to be a factor here, of course, because this isn't a Yu-Gi-Oh ranking thing. But he does do that too. He plans on making reviews for all of New Jedi Order because he's going through it for the first time, which is great. He does have an opinion on Legacy, the comics, which I don't agree with. But that's fine. He hasn't even really talked about it on his YouTube channel, so it's not going to affect his ranking. I just thought I'd mention it. Yeah, he's a great guy, fun to talk to, really humble, and he probably wouldn't put himself anywhere above C, but he most definitely deserves, in my opinion, a B tier. Since he's fervently only EU-only focused, no interest in canon, and is really enthusiastic about the expanded universe. I spreach auch kein Dutch. I don't know how to say it. There you go. That's something. Hi, Geeks Addict. How are you? Matthew. Another Matthew on top of the Matthew of the Matt Wilkins. But Yeah, you're on this list too, so I'll have to mention you soon. I'm just going in order of what we have. Then we get to this. I'm heavily biased, so know that going into it. The Revanchist. The expanded universe got decanonized in 2014. Correct? It's now 2023. And up until 2022, not a single person on this entire platform thought it'd be a good idea to simply make basically free audiobooks of Tales of the Jedi or every short story that's ever come out. Because a lot of those short stories you can't even find in collections. A lot of those short stories are hard to come by. A lot of people don't want to go searching online everywhere for a PDF of it, because there are some that you simply can't get physically unless you print it out. And so he's doing God's work by releasing these shorts and by making these, dramatizations of Tales of the Jedi and everything, and all for your viewing pleasure for completely free. Now he's too humble to say so because he's a little titty, and he's gonna say, "Oh, I'm like a C tier, maybe even a D tier." Hoo-wah, hoo-wah, hoo-wah. Well, guess what? I don't hear any of your guys' opinion either. You know what he gets automatically? Sorry, Revanchist is our first S tier. Also, let me change this because it might have more than 5. We'll see. This is the golden standard of expanded universe channels. Okay, and Revanchist gets the first one, hands down. Noah riecht nach Virgin. I probably butchered that horribly, but frickin' dealed it. Deutsch. I've got 3% German in me. How's that going so far? All right. Up next, we have Son of Luke. Now, Son of Luke makes just wonderful content. Like, he is the newspaper of YouTube, and I love him so much. I enjoy every single bit of his content. It's absolutely great. He just basically makes it so we have an update every month of what's going on in the expanded universe. He's super positive. He seems like a nice guy. He, is very enthusiastic about the expanded universe and getting it continued someday. And to me, because his content is so unique, no one else does what he does. Literally no one. He easily deserves A tier. One of the easiest A tiers I've ever made. I think he is super close to top 5 of all time. You know what? Piss off. Here's what I'm doing. I changed it. I changed the top 5 anyway. So, no, never mind. Son of Luke, A tier. S tier. Sorry. The inner German in me. Yeah, because basically my mom's mom is white, and her whole section of family is Irish and German. So figure out how that happened. But there's that. So, however, my mom with my biological father, who is from Mexico, Dumbo stuff happened, and so storks came, and I'm 75% Hispanic, which makes me more Hispanic than my own mother, who's 50%. But I don't know why I decided to mention that, but there you go. Anyway, moving forward, we have Legends Literature. Legends Literature. He showed up kind of more recently, and he makes content that's not too long like mine. I've had videos that have gone up to 40 minutes. Only people that are dedicated to my channel are even going to bother watching that, okay? He makes, videos that are just long enough. Like if he has enough to say, it can go on for 15 minutes. But if he really has nothing to say, they're 3 to 4 minute videos. And it's honestly perfect the way he does it. It's really accessible to people. And the way he edits everything is a lot better than, me just sitting on a couch and talking. And to me, I don't know. I mean, he hasn't gone through all the expanded universe yet. He's going through it in I think release order. That being said, I'm going to put him in A tier, but the future of his channel might dictate him to be updated to S tier. So that's what I'm going to do for now. Yeah, that was basically my sentiment. He was born in Scotland. Comes from Austria and Germany. Anyway, up next we have Spencer Star Wars Library. Star Wars Library. Um, he's also doing it in release order. But I love his videos. I think they're really great. Um, uh, I love that it's a bit more like me. It feels like, like that old YouTube, you know, which is just, kind of a, where you just kind of you talk to a camera. It feels like good old early 2010s YouTube. And he was on a live stream with Matt and Noah and Jeremy, where they talked about the sort of the Jedi fan fiction, and I enjoyed him there. And I don't know, I think his content's pretty solid, and I'm gonna easily put him in A tier. Up next, we have Clint Voss. I already said it in Noah's video, so if you want to have that iterated, I'm I'm gonna put it there. So easiest thing I've done all day, easiest decision I've ever made. S tier. Quillen Voss, hands down, easily gets S tier. I am biased. I run a podcast with a guy. He's currently writing a fan fiction that was my idea, and he's going with it. This guy's great, but you will never find a more dedicated and passionate EU YouTuber, especially at the age that he's at. He pumps out videos almost every single day, edits, and uploads all the podcasts that we've done together, which will be coming out next month, by the way. So make sure to go subscribe to that, or to go watch that on the Expand Universe website starting in April. Check the website every week to see a new episode. But he consistently makes good content, and he has a wide variety of content, whether that just be like species lists, character lists, lore videos, topical videos about the Expand Universe, and reviews. He's doing it all, and in chronological order. Absolutely easiest S I've ever given. This is just a younger version of Matt and Chris and all the great people you love. Quillen Voss, easiest S to ever give. I appreciate you. But no, absolutely, positively deserved. Easiest S I've given all day, along with Revan. Up next, it's Matt Wilkins, guys. What am I going to say? Of course he gets S tier. Another easy one. Matt is just consistently great. He may be brain leaking. He's getting a bit old. He's got a lot of kids. But without him, would the Expanded Universe community be the way it is today? I mean, think about it. All of us growing up, whether it be Quinlan, whether it be Quality Autism, whether it be Lance, whether it be me, we all at some point were watching Matt's content, whether while we were making content or before. We all have to owe a big contributing factor to what the EU movement is today, thanks to him and what he's done. And so, with his defending the EU videos to doing his original, most iconic Expanding Universe reviews, he's the face of the movement to me. He is somebody that is just a role model. He's maybe not so much as Christopher, because I think Christopher's a bit more somebody we should all act like. But for the personality and the wacky exterior, Matt Wilkins is the man. And, anybody who, I wouldn't say you're not a true, YouTuber, but if you haven't watched Matt Wilkins, what are you doing with your life? Get on it. Matt Wilkins easily deserves that spot, hands down. He may not have as many subscribers as other people on this list, like OG, I mean, Ryan Kennel is way more than Matt, and I think so does OG. I could be incorrect, but the subscribers really don't matter. It's the influence he's had on the fandom and what his content is focused around, and it's one of the easiest S's I've ever given. What the hell? I got the 340 win. Well, thank you. Thank you. I did not realize I made it to 340. That means another thank you video has to come up. But oh my goodness, I did not realize that happened. That's crazy. I was 337 this morning. So moving forward, who's next? Well, there we go. Easiest one now. All right. S tier. Let's go. All righty. Christopher Nelson, thank you. Just seriously, thank you. Like Christopher Nelson is his content's unique. It's not reviews, it's collectible, so you can get in the Star Wars Expanded Universe topical videos, about the movement and everything. And you know, I'm not perfect. I'm flawed. I don't always make the right decisions. I don't always portray myself in the way I want to be portrayed. Sometimes we have bad days and we just don't act the way we should. But other than the religious beliefs I have, in terms of who I want to be as a YouTuber and as an online persona, Christopher Nelson is my biggest role model in my life. I love his cadence, his tone of voice. Um, I love the respect he has for people. I love the way he carries himself. I know he's just some dude making videos. I get it, all right? He's just some dude. He's not Dwayne The Rock Johnson or something, right? He's just some dude. But he consistently has made good content. He's been on so many live streams and stuff and just shared his knowledge and wealth of that just pouring forth through all of the stuff he talks about. And he's a super funny guy too. He's a bit subtle with his comedy, but when it comes out, it's hilarious. And I don't know, I absolutely love him. If I could put him in a spot higher than S, I might put him above Matt and everybody else on this list. He's literally my favorite. And this community. I mean, I know, yes, Brian Borg, Dylan, they all have their parts to play. They're all very important. There's a bunch of other people we could list off, but as I said with Matt, same thing with Christopher. The EU movement, the expanding universe community that we have today would not be the same if not for Christopher Nelson. Absolutely deserving of S tier. He's here. Oh, he heard all that right in the second that I said it. That's fun. But no, yeah, absolutely deserved. I wish I could put you higher. Yeah, just the god tier of the expanding universe YouTubers. Thank you. Appreciate it. I did not even realize. I just figured that out when Brennan said so. Up next, we're gonna skip that for now. I'll let you guys decide that one at the end. Stupid Chainsaw Productions. He's also someone who's been making EU content for years. And he has, I mean, he makes other videos like about, Stephen King and other authors and stuff. But I remember back in the day finding the Expanded Universe the first time through Ryan Kennel, and then finding Matt Wilkins and everything. But one of the earliest ones I saw was the Mall Lockdown review that Jeremy did in his basement of his original house before it got burnt down. That's some Expanded Universe community lore for you. But he's been, he has similar takes to Noah that I don't necessarily agree with. But I don't know. I think he's easily deserving. I don't think I would go as far as Noah did, but I think he easily deserves an A tier for all the contributions he's made. Scott Johnson, who was literally on here earlier, right? What a legend, right? Now the thing is his content. He doesn't have that much EU content. He's absolutely influential to the expanding universe, though. He has been on numerous live streams with Matt, talked to Christopher and everything, and he's been a great influence on the fandom. And so I think what I'm gonna do is I was thinking I was gonna put him in room to move up, and I'm being a little bit inconsistent. But if Ryan Kennel can be in C, then Scott Johnson deserves that spot as well. Is what I'm gonna say there. Do I sound like a robot, or am I still sounding okay? That I kind of need to know that before I keep going. But definitely need to end this stream eventually because I need to head to work. So I'm gonna double check how the stream's sounding, and then I will continue onward. How am I sounding? So far, it's sounding fine still, so that's good. What do we got next? Up next, we have two Star Wars nerds. Now, they've had me on live streams before, so again, I'm biased. But they're more of a prequel channel. Like they talk about TCW, which technically is Expanded Universe. They've talked about the original prequel movies and the OT movies. They had a huge live stream where they literally just watched the holiday special with their fans. But they have seemed to gotten kind of disenfranchised with the Disney universe, and they want to read all of the expanded universe, and that is stuff that they plan on doing. Um, it's just they have kids as well, and it's a bit hard for them to do that. So what I'm gonna do with two Star Wars nerds is if we're just talking about like Star Wars channel, they're an easy A tier for me, easily. But since we're talking about the expanded universe more specifically, I'm gonna leave them in room to move up. I could see them easily becoming A tier if they simply do more reviews on the expanded universe. Legends Library, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know that much about them. I know that they did, they have reviews and stuff. I saw them originally on Spotify of all things, but I don't know too much about them. So I'm gonna leave Legends Library on. Don't know them that well. Meg Reviews. What is Meg Reviews currently doing? Well, she is on EU March Madness with Matt, Quillen Voss, and Revanchist. So I think that with how in depth she goes with her reviews, the effort that she puts in and everything, I think she's easily deserving of A tier. I think she's absolutely incredible. She does talk about the Disney canon somewhat, which is fine. She has every right to do so, but that kind of hinders me from putting her in S tier, because this is about an EU tuber tier list, and while she is primarily EU, she does discuss canon at some points. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but for the purposes of this list. I'll be honest, I have no idea what GFFA games is really all about, so I'm gonna also put them in the don't know them list. The Geeks Addict. While we're at it, I'm also going to move Tusken Raider over here because it's the same guy. So we go with the Geeks Addict. I mean, it does take a long time for those EU reviews to come out. This doesn't affect the ranking, but he's also a Christian. Yeah, I think he was an extra in the Choice, which is a show, which is really based and cool. I think what I'm going to do, because of the inconsistency of uploads, I'm going to put him at a respectable B, along with Tusken Raider, since it's also him. I'm just going to kind of lump those two together. So hopefully that's a respectable spot. Red 5 Reviews, who's also in here. He makes awesome content as well, on the expanded universe and other stuff. And I'm torn between B or A. That's what I'm kind of settling on. Because also the reviews, they're way more consistent than Geeks Addict is, but they're not as frequent as I think like a really in-depth YouTube channel kind of needs to be. So I think now there are ways to bypass that. Like Christopher doesn't upload as often, but there's other factors involved with that. So I think I'm gonna put Red 5 Reviews at a respectable B. Nathan Butler, I'm gonna be honest. Maybe I'm a bad EU fan. I don't know a lot about him. I don't know a lot about his channel or a lot about what he does. So I know he's connected with the expanded universe, but as for his content on YouTube, I don't know. So I'm gonna put Nathan Butler at I don't know them, and hopefully that doesn't upset people. And then we got Star Wars Timeline. This is a Star Wars Timeline. So he kind of got Stevie B on the map to becoming the YouTuber that he's become, and he does talk about the EU consistently. He's done collab videos with Meg Reviews and stuff, and he has been on one of Matt Wilkins' live streams. I know that. But he also talks about canon almost just as much, if not more so, because that's more frequent of stuff coming out than, of course, Legends is. So if we're just talking EU channels, because he does have like 3K, or if we're just talking about like Star Wars YouTuber channels, he'd probably, for me personally, be like at a B or a C. But um, I do feel like he talks about canon more than he talks about the expanded universe, which does hinder you being an expanded universe YouTuber. So with that, this doesn't put you like, this doesn't mean that you're like a D or an E or anything. That's why I removed those. It's a separate category. I'd say genuinely, I think he's around a C for me, but he's going in the category of talking about canon more than he talks about the EU. That's where I'm gonna place him. But generally, I think he's around, I guess, a C for me. No, I'm sure. I know about that, but as for his content, I don't think he really makes that much EU content, which is where I kind of draw the line there. At least for YouTuber. We're not talking like biggest, best EU fans, because it's a little bit more subjective. And also, if you've actually worked in the EU, of course, then that, would put you higher up there. But for purely EU YouTubers, I don't think he's earned that a spot anywhere near S. Yeah, let's go. Yay, another review biome. I'm going to look forward to watching that review. So definitely everybody, Red 5 reviews, go look it up on YouTube. Go subscribe if you haven't. This is what you need to go watch it. Yep, we would. We would. All right. Up next. Caleb likes books. He's a newer guy, and he does talk about the EU, but he also consistently talks about canon. Like, I think a lot more than the EU. And so with that, I'm going to have to place him with Star Wars Timeline in the more canon than the EU. Now, he could move up to at least a C, but I think the issue too is that in order to reach A status and possibly B status, you need to like not. I mean, I guess I have OG years, so the EU needs to be talked about far more frequently than Disney, or at least be an even balance in order to fit B tier, which he can probably move up to if he makes more videos. But A tier is kind of reserved for like, I mean, I guess I make reviews on there too, so never mind. But you know, it's just there's a lot of canon stuff, which is fine. It's fine that he likes that stuff, but I just don't. I don't know. It's not something that I think I would place more than a C, which is probably where I'd place it. But since he's talking about more canon than the EU, I'm placing in that spot. Alrighty. Moving on, we have Evan Nova 95. Now, he is the guy. He makes some of the most unique Star Wars Expanded Universe content because no one else does this. He does versus videos on all the Star Wars characters and like the life of characters, like, like little biographies and stuff. His content is so good. And honestly, this is my tier list. I'm putting him in S tier. I think he deserves it. His content is so unique. No one else does what he does. I mean, Titus is going to be making his own similar content soon, but he's getting it from this guy. This guy did it first, so he automatically gets the stamp of approval from me. He gets S tier. Strike 721. He's a friend who's also on the Two Star Wars Nerds Discord. Rethinking it over, he does like the Expanded Universe. He has talked about it on occasion, but he mostly focuses on the prequels, and he does watch the new stuff, which is not a problem. But since he does watch like Bad Batch and all that stuff, I have to put him in the more canon than EU type of YouTube channel. However, if he were to review more Expanded Universe content, I could easily put him in a C tier. Young Jedi Knights audiobooks, for me, this is an easy C. The thing is, the reason I won't place it any higher is because, yes, they're giving us unabridged audiobooks of Young Jedi Knights and other Expanded Universe stories, which is absolutely fantastic. They're doing God's work. However, it is just an AI reading it, so it's like talking like this with no emotion or stuff within it. And it's not like original content. It's somebody else's hard work that they're just giving to us for free, which I can appreciate. Like, that is very admirable. I just don't think I can get anywhere higher than a C because of that fact. Moving on, we have Josh Adams, who is making making an audiobook of the Republic Mando stuff, which is freaking awesome. And I again, this one though, there's a bit more effort because there's voice acting in it and stuff. So this one, for that purpose, I'm going to put in B tier. Now we move on to this one. So uncivilized. These are mostly topical videos on Star Wars. Talking about the movies, the prequels, the OT. They've talked about the sequels, but only why it's kind of bad. However, there's not a lot of Expendiverse content in there, but also not a lot of canon content either. So I'm at this impasse where I don't really know where to put them. So, if Someone Civilized were to get more involved, the Expandiverse, I could see room to move up. But for now, I'm going to leave Someone Civilized in room to move up because currently there's not a lot of Expandiverse content, but there's also no canon content. So I'm not like this impasse, And I mean, I guess if you count the 6 films as Expanding Universe, then he has talked about that. And I guess that could at least earn him, I guess, a C, but I'm going to leave him in room to move up is what I'm going to leave him at. Up next. Hopefully I still don't sound like a robot. We have the 501st Legion. Now, I don't really think they make videos. It's a nice charity and all, but they don't really make videos, I don't think. But it is pretty much EU focused, I think. So I'm going to leave it with another one of room to move up. Up next, another controversial one. We have Star Wars Theory, which a lot of people know about him because he's a very big Star Wars YouTube channel. If we're just talking about successful YouTube channels, he'd probably be an A to S tier because he has a lot more subscribers than most of us. But that's not the purpose of this tier list. The purpose of this tier list is specifically expanding universe content. But again, most of his content is not expanding universe, and a lot of it's clickbaity, and he uses a lot of thumbnails and stuff, and I feel like he doesn't know a lot about the expanding universe because he'll make mistakes putting Ferris Olin as Jason Solo in pictures and stuff, and they do look similar, but if you're gonna make a YouTube video and you have time to edit it, you really should check for that stuff. That's important stuff to do. But he doesn't. And if I'm not mistaken, Star Wars Theory talks about canon a whole lot. Am I incorrect about that? I think so anyway. Let me double check that. I'm pretty sure that's all he does. Yeah. That's all he does. I'm not gonna put him worst of all. He's not the worst of all time. I wouldn't say that. I don't know. I don't really even watch the guy, but I don't know. It's primarily Disney content though. And when he does talk about the EU, it's very infrequently, and I'm not going to say worst of all time. I'm going to say F. I feel like that's less harsh. F, yeah. I'm putting Star Wars Theory in F tier for the simple fact that he just doesn't really talk about the EU and has a lot of clickbaity stuff. Twin Suns Foundation. Again, I don't think there's a lot of content on the channel. I think there's some slow tour stuff. But as a charity, they're absolutely fantastic. And even though it's about the YouTube channel, I feel like that should be a factor. I'm gonna put them in C. As an organization, they're S tier. They are the great guys that do great things. Giving books to children and everything like that's it's fantastic what they're doing, and I absolutely support all of that. But as a YouTube channel, I don't feel like there's much there, so I'm gonna give them a respectable C. Now, moving on, we have Star Wars Explained, which if it was back in the day would have had a nice little C, but as of today, being almost completely canon, it's going to be F. I don't know what Star Wars on High is, so I'm going to go don't know them. That was easy. Star Wars, the official channel, easy F because it's all canon. Chit Chat in Star Wars, genuine chit chat. I think that's the one that Stevie B interviewed, the kind of British guy. I don't remember if that is the right one. I'm gonna double check that one because I honestly don't remember that. Genuine chit chat. I'm gonna be honest. I don't mean to be mean, but there's hardly any expanding universe stuff discussed on his channel. There's a whole bunch of canon comics and books and stuff talked about, with very few actual expanding universe discussions. There's actually a lot of like political or like philosophical religious discussions on the channel, more so than there is expanding universe content. Now I think the content itself is fine if you like canon, but I don't know, Stevie B interviewed him, which is a little bit more in his favor, but I don't know. I was thinking F, but I don't want to be a Noah. I'm gonna put him in more canon than EU though. There's nothing else he can go to. Star Wars Architects. I don't remember what that is. So to be honest, I'm gonna put that in. Don't know them. Same thing with this one. And then we have this one, which I vaguely know about, but to be honest, I don't know. I'm also gonna put this in. Don't know them. Corey's Datapad. We're gonna lump this in because it's not included in the list, but Eckhart's Ladder. Eckhart's Ladder is his co-host and has also made several videos on like the expanding universe lore and everything. But the podcast that they do together, and I know that Corey's Datapad has also done like lore videos on the expanding universe, but they're like podcasts together where they review like the expanding universe books and stuff, which is more than a lot of other people. So with that, though they do talk about canon a lot, I'm going to give Corey's Datapad and by extension Eckhart's Ladder a reasonable C, though they're teetering on more canon than EU because that's primarily what they discuss. But they are probably one of the biggest factors in people even knowing about the expanding universe, because they are far more influential than most of us are on this list. So I'll give them that and allow a respectable C. Moving forward, I don't know what this is, so I'm going to go there. Bye-bye. Don't know what this is either. I'm going to go bye-bye. Don't know what this either, so I'm going to go bye-bye. I've only seen a couple of this guy's videos, and all he does is hate on the expanded universe, talking about how it wasn't canon and other things of that sort. It's an easy F. Scoundrels Cantina is another one where, there's a lot of dual canon stuff going on there. They do talk about the expanded universe, but they still watch Bad Batch and stuff. And I don't know, man. I'm going to say there's room to move up, but it's teetering on more canon than the EU, is what I'm going to say. Because they've been on Matt's streams and stuff, and that's cool and everything. Thor Skywalker, I honestly don't know a lot about. But they talked about the EU somewhat, but I don't know. I'm gonna leave it with room to move up, but I don't know. Actually, no, I don't know that much about them, so I'm gonna leave it with no. Put in this one. I'm gonna leave it with don't know them. Lore Master, I know, used to make stuff about that. I don't know. I'll put Lore Master at a C. Teetering on F because I think it's all new canon now. Star Wars Only, I think that's primarily a new canon channel. When it's about an EU tier list, I'm going to put that in F. Lore Master's pretty good. I'll take your word for it. I'm going to leave him at C, though. I think that's a respectable spot to put him in. Yeah, okay, does EU and canon. Yeah, I'm going to leave my decision at C then. Moving forward, Mandalore. I feel like because of his extensive knowledge of the expanded universe, I mean, he puts on the effort of putting on a damn costume for half of his videos, when he actually pops up. He makes really, really good, in-depth EU videos and is an EU-only advocate. And, for Noah hates, I think, also TCW. So does Mandalore, probably more than Noah because he's a big fan of Karen Travis and stuff. But because he's probably one of the biggest expanded universe channels on this entire list, he has to, at the very least, get an A. I would say S tier, but it's it's my personal opinion. I don't love his content like that much, but it is really solid content, deserving of at least an easy A. I could be easily persuaded by anyone though to move him up to S tier. Who, Mandalore? I agree if you're talking about him. But yeah, I could easily be persuaded to move him up to S tier, but I'm gonna leave him in A tier for now. With reviewing everything at the end, seeing whether or not I should move him up or not. Up next we have Star Wars: The Old Republic. I mean, this channel is literally just dedicated to an expanded universe video game. Now, I know a lot of people don't like SWTOR, but it doesn't matter. It's still expanding universe, and that's literally what this entire channel is dedicated to. People can try to make the argument all they want. Oh, well, they included a Disney canon thing. It doesn't matter. It's the same thing with Supernatural Encounters. You guys are wrong. It's canon. Okay? So, the way I see it, I mean, it's not like consistent content or anything, and it's not even like a real person. It's a company. So I'm gonna leave it with B. But yeah, I mean, the whole channel is dedicated to just expanding universe content by necessity of it being SWTOR. So I think easily deserved. Up next we have SWTOR is something, but it's about SWTOR. I don't know a lot about it, but I'm gonna put it at C because it has to do with SWTOR. So, and it's got 170k subs, so that's something. I'm not going to get into what Noah got into last in his stream. That was a whole bunch of things. I'm not getting into it. Here's what I'll say. If he knows, from my understanding, he has a wide range of knowledge about the expanded universe. Okay. And he has done plenty of expanded universe reviews. However, he has also consistently talked about political things on his channel, which, if we're talking about political channels, maybe you'd rank him higher depending on your preferences. I don't know. But as far as EU content goes, he still does make EU content, but it's mixed in between all of this stuff. But I also don't want to be mean. I don't know the guy personally. I don't care for him too much. He wasn't the nicest to people that I care about on this platform. But I also don't know the guy. I don't have any personal beef with him. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, I'm gonna put him in F, but I want everyone to know that he has room to improve. If he apologizes for all the things he's done and simply stops making political content and focuses on the EU, he can move up. But until then, I'm gonna leave him at F. I know nothing about this person, so I'm gonna leave this and don't know them. NGO reviews. They're reviewing the New Jedi Order, but they stopped and they haven't made videos in a long time. But it's at least completely EU focused, and since I don't really have any D's or E's or F's on this list, I'm gonna leave him at a respectable C. Hopefully, he can come back one day and continue to make more content. Sheep Talks. This guy isn't an EU channel. He's most definitely one of the biggest YouTubers I've ever talked to. But with 33,000 subscribers, but he's not an EU focused channel. He's just not. Oh, Scott's back. Hello, Scott.
Hello. Sorry, I had to take that call. It was very
No,
important.
don't be sorry. I understand. No, that makes complete sense. I got working a bit too. So, oh, he does? Anakin Solo does? Then, that's fair. I did not know that. I haven't watched it, but I'll put him up to see if he's making unabridged audiobooks of New Jedi Order. That's fair. But as for Sheep Talks, like I said, probably one of the biggest YouTubers I've ever talked to. 33,000 subscribers. It's a lot. However, his content has almost virtually nothing to do with Star Wars. It has to do, the only time he went in depth about Star Wars was about the Kenobi show. It was funny, but it had nothing to do with the expanded universe. And so,
yeah, I've dealt with him on Twitter, and his knowledge of like how things were in Star Wars. I had some sort of debate with him about Wikipedia and the treatment of the Legends tab on there, and how that caused a whole problem of how fans kind of don't really understand the nuances of certain things. They look to it as, I mean, it is a separate continuity, right? But it's not like when they see Thrawn in the new canon, it's not the same character as the old canon, and he doesn't quite get the nuances of that. It presented a whole bunch of problems that I think he just wasn't aware of. So his Star Wars knowledge limited. He seems like a decent enough guy otherwise. So
yeah, he does seem to enjoy the EU, but he doesn't talk about it on his channel. Although I don't think he's deserving of F, because he doesn't like primarily talk about Disney canon or anything. He talks about a whole variety of topics on his channel. So I'm gonna put for now, because I don't have any like super bad rankings for anybody, because I don't have. I mean, I changed it to F. But I don't have any D's or E's where I think he'd probably deserve to be if we had those. I'm gonna put him in room to move up. If he decides to start making EU reviews, he can make his way up to being a good EU YouTuber. But until then, his lack of knowledge and understanding of the expanded universe and his non-really expanded universe content leads me to keep him there for now. And I'll go over all the things you missed once it's done and see. I left myself for last so they can all decide. Force Wave, easiest F I've ever given. Says false things about the expanded universe. I don't think any more really needs to be said about that. But I don't know if you know Force Wave, but I think it's an easy F.
No, but I trust you to give him an F.
Yeah. Okay. Then we have Drunken Rancor, which I know nothing about. He only has 9 subscribers.
Was he the guy that does drunk reviews on TCW? I briefly caught some of the stream last night. I mean, that sounds interesting. I'd give him.
It does sound interesting.
Maybe room to improve. Like if he ever wants to put out some real EU focused content, I think some drunk book reviews or some drunk novel reviews would be interesting.
I think so too. I think that'd be really funny. Like Republic Commando drunk reviews, when in the second book, Atang goes, "I love you, and I'm gonna have your babies." That'd be really funny to read drunk. So, yeah.
You could act some scenes out. I think those would be amazing.
Yeah. All right, we decided that we only have one left. I don't know what to do with this guy, because Slav has read a lot of the expanded universe. He doesn't make content though. The only video he has is a really funny meme video with an AI of George Lucas saying, "Yeah, the EU was never canon." And the funniest part about that too was it was entirely a meme. He made it to be a joke, and some canon fan thought it was real and like posted it on Twitter. It's like, look, here's proof that George Lucas did not like the expanded universe, and it was really funny. So he's an enigma. I honestly don't know where to put Slav.
Yeah, that goes to show you can't believe everything you hear on the internet. The funniest part about that is somebody took it seriously and ran with it. It wouldn't be that funny otherwise. But I think Slav, he has some opinions that I disagree with about the Fantasy Flight Games EU backstory. I guess he thinks like April 2014, everything after that is definitely not EU. I think it's more nuanced than that, even though we don't have a lot of set in stone authoritative sources to say yes one way, yes or no. But I don't know. He's a friend. He shows up on Lance's streams a lot. He's a funny guy. I like him.
I say room to move up if he ever decides to actually make expanded universe content. Is what I'll say to that,
agree.
I guess.
I agree.
And now I leave it for the audience, the 4 that's still here, because I'm not going to do it. I would put myself in C or F, but no one's going to let me do that. So I'm going to let them decide. I know that Strike says I got to be very high at the top. I disagree. I know some people, my friends, would argue that, but I honestly don't deserve that. So, but I will let the audience decide, even though just so you know, my opinion is that I'm like a D or a C. So that is my opinion.
You're not going to ask my opinion?
Oh, yeah, I want your opinion too, but I'm just kind of scared.
I'm biased, but I need you to scroll up so I can compare to where you have certain people listed now.
Okay, well, let me just go over everything I have real quick. So in F tier, we have Star Wars Theory, because he's primarily talking about Disney canon stuff. And I feel like he doesn't actually have he does talk about the EU on occasion, but at the same time, he's a super influential YouTube channel with 3 million subscribers, and he'll make mistakes like putting Ferris Olin on a picture of Jason Solo, or like talking about Jason Solo but using Ferris Olin. Like they do look kind of similar, but like you're making a video, so you can edit it and fix it, but he doesn't. So I feel like he doesn't have the greatest knowledge of the expanded universe. And since it's primarily Disney canon, that's where I decided to leave him at. And then same thing with
Yeah,
yeah, and then same thing with Star Wars. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm making mistakes like that just makes you an absolute clown. So F,
Yeah.
or maybe even a worse tier, just like the clown
Yeah.
tier, I would put him there.
Yeah. And then I put Star Wars Explained because they mostly talk about canon. So I thought that was easily deserved. Not that there's anything wrong talking about canon. You know, that could be a great Star Wars channel, but for the purposes of an EU channel, easy F.
So just briefly on Alex Star Wars Explained. He was a regular at a lot of the Celebration conventions. He's been there a long time. I think he's read all of the EU, even though
that's fair.
he kind of shits on it nowadays. But you know, if the buyout never took place and canon never existed, the new canon, the Disney canon never existed, he would be much higher on the list. But unfortunately, that's not the case. So.
No, fair enough. And then I thought easily the Star Wars official YouTube channel got F because they don't talk about the expanded universe. It only is about putting trailers out for the new stuff and everything and interviews and all that. So easy. Hello Greedo. I've only seen a couple videos, but he had a video talking about why the EU was never canon, of course, and was bashing it. And so I thought that alone, like, it's one thing to like EU canon or to like only Disney canon. It's another to spread false information. And so I thought that was easy deserving of F as well.
Yeah, I don't like him personally. He shits on the EU. So
yeah. And then Star Wars Only, I could be wrong, but I believe this is only a canon focused channel as well.
I would guess so. I'm not familiar with that channel.
Yeah. So I left that there. And then I'm not going to get into it because Noah went quite more in depth with it than I'm going to. Dark Sinovia, I struggled because I don't know him personally. He's affected a lot of people that I care about in the community, which automatically puts a bias on me. But he hasn't actually done anything to me personally. So I was jumbling between if he gets rid of all this political stuff on his channel and apologizes for the things he's done, could move up to a room to improve or to move up. But I settled on F because of all the stuff revolving around him.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. His Star Wars content actually isn't too bad. I mean, there's some funny spelling errors Noah pointed out yesterday. He has Shutter Point and
Shutter Point, yeah.
Shadows on Minor, says, he almost says it the same way Matt Wilkins says it. So yeah, but besides that, I mean, the drama definitely knocks him down. So
yeah, and then Force Wave, I know he said a lot of stuff about the expanded universe that's not true, so I thought he was easily deserving of an F. That was my F tier. For the I don't know them tier, but they could easily move up. I have Full Frontal Fiction because I know nothing about them. I know Legends Library has discussed the expanded universe before. I've seen their reviews of like New Jedi Order on Spotify and whatnot, but I don't know a lot about them personally, so I left them and don't know.
Yeah, Kyle's a good guy. I think he's one of the hosts on that. And
right, with Legends Con.
Yeah. He's associated with Legends Con, very, very knowledgeable about the expanded universe, an advocate of supernatural encounters, which is always a plus. His co-host, I'm not too familiar with, Lisa. I'm sure they make okay content, but I'm not a regular listener, so.
But probably deserving a C if I watched more, I'd imagine, and if it's primarily EU focused.
Yeah.
I have no idea who GFFA Games is. That's where I left him. Now, I know Nathan Butler is super important before nowadays, but as for his actual content on YouTube right now and for what he's contributing to Expand Universe, it doesn't seem like currently there's a lot.
So GFFA Games, that's actually a good channel that archives certain LucasArts games that are no longer available anymore. So I would rank them high just because I don't think anybody else does that, and that's important because some of those games are on platforms like mobile devices, like the very early flip phones that you can't access very well. So that's
yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, would you say would you place them in a C or a B?
I would put them at B just because of the value of the content they archive and the fact that nobody really else does that, to my knowledge. I
That's
mean, people make documentaries on certain individual games, but as far as archiving, the content of the game, that's very valuable. So Nathan P. Butler, real quick, he was a podcaster, one of the original, going back to 2002. I think he was one of the original Star Wars Expanded Universe podcasters. He has tons of content. He did reviews of all the books and comics, all the way up to shortly after the buyout. He sold off his collection because he got frustrated with doing the timeline. He was going to keep both timelines, both the timeline gold for the original Expanded Universe and the new canon, but he got so frustrated with the with the new content, and I think privately he was frustrated with the Clone Wars as well. Like, he had a separate section just for the Clone Wars he had to carve out, and because of all that trouble, he just sold off his collection, got frustrated. Now he just does videos focused on the home video releases. Some of it's EU, but most of it's just the films themselves. So, I mean, if it was 2008, he would be higher than Matt, right? But this many years out, the fact that he doesn't follow it anymore, and Matt's kind of carrying the flag of continuing the EU fight this many years out, I would probably put him maybe at A.
Fair.
That's just me.
That's a lot of stuff that I didn't know, so I'll happily put him in A, because it sounds like he kept the fandom kind of like thriving there in the early 2000s. Apart from the the videos, the books themselves, but as for like actual online content, which was kind of just becoming a thing, it sounds like he was kind of the pioneer of all that.
Yeah, so. And he's an EU author too. He does. He did the equals and opposites from Star Wars Tales. And he's done a bunch of fan audio dramas, just pages and pages. I don't know if they're still archived on his channel, but he did a bunch of fan projects over the years.
Fair enough. And then after that, I had Star Wars on High, which I don't really know anything about, so I left them at don't know. Don't know if you know them.
No. They did show up on Noah's channel, though, at the very end. They were like, why are we rated worst of all time? So that was kind of
man. Yeah. I think that had something to do with like clickbaity titles or whatever, which is fair, but I don't know them, so I'm not going to put them in F unless I've actually seen their content before.
Right.
And Star Wars are Architects. Do you know them?
Star Wars are Architects? No, never heard of them.
Alrighty, we'll leave it there. Star Wars Newsnet.
Nope.
That's fair. Jeetleys. Jeetleys? I don't know what it says, but it's this one.
Brennan made this tier list, right? So he must know who these.
He knows these people.
You have the wrong guest on. You need Brennan to explain.
It's okay. People. It's okay. He's busy. He's gonna make his own tier. This is his, but he's gonna make his own live stream at some point. So I guess we can get more information on these people when he does his.
Yeah.
Generation Tech. I don't know them either, so I'm not gonna say anything about it. Steel Wars. I don't know if you know anything about them.
No.
Lore Star. I imagine they make lore videos on Star Wars, but I don't know anything about them, so I left it there. And then Thor Skywalker, I've heard a little about, but I don't know much about him. I don't know if you do.
Sounds familiar, but I don't watch his channel, so I can't comment.
That is fair. Moving up the tier, we have more canon than EU. So Star Wars Timeline, if we're just talking about like YouTube channels, I probably rank it like a C or a B, I guess. But in terms of EU content, he does talk about the EU a lot, but he also he talks about all the new stuff, like when it comes out, which is why it's going to obviously be more frequent than Expanded Universe content. But I do feel like the canon stuff outweighs, like, unlike, I feel like OG Star Wars primarily talks about the EU, gets frustrated with the new stuff, and will compare and contrast why the old stuff is better, which I don't agree with, but fair enough. That's what she wants to do. I still feel like the EU is the primary focus. Timeline seems to have it overarching and be more it's more positive. He likes the new stuff, but it's more about the new stuff than it is about the old, which is why I placed them there.
Yeah, Timeline pulls in some good interviews. I think he interviewed Kenneth Flint, which was amazing. Unfortunately, he didn't read the novel Heart of the Jedi before he had him on, which was kind of confusing. Kind of scratched my head a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well,
So, so I mean, he's just generally a pop culture fan, and I guess Star Wars is part of that. So I would
yeah.
put him in, more canon than EU. I think that's fair.
Yeah. And the same thing, there's a newer YouTuber named Caleb Likes Books, and he also is reviewing the EU. He just released a Truce Bakura review today, I think. But he talks about canon a lot. And plans on reviewing more. So I feel like that's going to be a dual channel, but it seems like canon, since it's releasing stuff more frequently, obviously, than Legends, it's going to be primarily more of a canon channel. So he seems like a nice guy, though. But that's why I place him on this tier.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to check him out.
Yeah. And then we have Strike721. He's big on two Star Wars Nerds Discord channel, which I have two Star Wars Nerds in room to move up, and I'll explain that later. But yeah, Strike, he's read a couple EU books. Like I know he's read a lot of stuff revolving around the prequels. So like Dark Lord, Rise of Darth Vader, Labyrinth of Evil. But I don't think he's really made too many videos on it. And he primarily focuses on the prequels and by extension TCW. And he does watch new stuff, like the Bad Batch and stuff like that. So he's a really nice guy. He's chill, and he does like the expanding universe. But since his content doesn't really reflect that, I put him in more canon than the EU.
Yeah, that's fair. Two Star Wars Nerds has a great Discord channel. A lot of fans that are not really fans of the EU, but they're open to reading it. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of them are catching on. So hopefully that continues. And I think he has a good group of people. So I think that's fair.
Yeah, they're very positive and kind, which is good. Chit chat, genuine chit chat in Star Wars. I only learned about them through Stevie B because he interviewed him, but he seems to only discuss canon. He mentioned Darth Bane when he talked to Stevie, but he seems like a primarily canon channel, and the only other things he seems to discuss are like religion and philosophy and stuff, which is interesting, but not a very EU focused channel.
Yeah, yeah. So not more canon than EU, but just more everything else than
Yeah,
EU, right?
basically, yeah. And then I have room to move up. We kind of already discussed why Holocron Keeper Evan is on that spot, so I won't really dive into that again.
Yeah.
Fine Editions, also a recent channel. They only have a couple videos. They're making podcasts on expanding universe topics and stuff. Like he recently, it's not out yet, but he had me and Brendan on discussing the Prelude to Rebellion comic.
Okay.
So since there's not a lot of stuff there, I'm leaving him in room to move up, but I could easily see this channel becoming like a B or A for me.
Yeah, I haven't seen his channel per se, but I do see him in the comments on Matt Wilkins, Christopher Nelson, and so on. So he's a good guy.
Yeah. And then Titus is another good one. He's on Lance's Discord a lot. And he is essentially going to do another person on this list's kind of like shtick, which is fine. But there's no content currently. I just know about the content he's going to make, which is very similar to Evan Nova, which is the Versus kind of type series that he wants to do. So that's why I have him in room to move up, because there's no content, but I'm expecting good stuff when it finally comes out.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the Versus series, but some people like it. So,
Yeah.
just a matter of preference.
Yeah. And then Sea Spider has started making EU only reviews for the first time. He's probably one of the youngest expanding universe fans I know of that's actively making content. But there's not too many videos out yet. But once you've read everything the expanding universe is like, it's never going to be the same way when you first read it. So the only way you get to really re-experience that is through people that have never read it before. So it's kind of a way to experience it again through somebody else's eyes. And so while he doesn't have that much out yet, I could easily see him becoming a B or an A as time goes on.
Yeah, if he's reading it for the first time, I mean, that's great that he's a younger fan, has a YouTube channel. I mean, we need that kind of a thing. So if he's reading it the first time through, that's very interesting, getting his take on what he thinks or what order he's deciding to read them in too. So I'll have to check him out.
I'm not sure, Fab, but I know he's still in high school. But up next, I have two Star Wars nerds, and the thing is, they're wonderful people. I absolutely love their videos. They've had me on on a couple streams. They've talked about the prequels. They've talked about the original trilogy. I mean, they had an entire stream just watching the holiday special with fans, which I thought was really fun. Um, but they've only reviewed a couple EU stuff. Now they have kids, and it's been a bit hard for them to find time to make videos, especially because they like to do them together. It's not just like Matt Wilkins, who it's just him who likes it, so he's reviewing it all by himself. So when he has free time, he's going to reading it by himself and then making a review. It's him and his wife who are kind of doing this together. So it requires them both to have it finished, which is going to make it a bit harder for them to finish it as quickly as, Matt or other people may do. So I put them in room to improve because I think they made a video saying, not that there's anything wrong with liking the new stuff, but they said that they're kind of getting burnt out and they're kind of done, and they're going to focus primarily on the expanded universe. So it would become more of an expanded universe channel, but they just haven't uploaded that much in a while. So I see that as a room to move up into a higher tier of EU.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I mean, Mr. Two Star Wars Nerds, he's a friend of mine. I've been talking to him on Discord, particularly about the West End Games source books. He's taken a liking to that, and he's bought a couple of them, and we've discussed it a little bit. What I like about his channel is he invites people on. He's sort of like fostering a community similar to how Matt Wilkins does that. And I think that there's something positive about that it leads to growth of the EU fandom overall. So I
that's
think
my thoughts too.
I might even rank him like a B. I might move him up just because of that. Even though his content now isn't really EU focused, he does hope to do that in the future. So that's great to hear.
Yeah, you've convinced me. I've moved him up to B. Another one we have on the room to move up is So Uncivilized. I honestly didn't know where to put him since I deleted the D's and E's tier. Because the thing about him, he makes really interesting topical videos on the prequels, on the original trilogy. And he has only made one video on the sequel trilogy, and that was kind of showing why it didn't work. And he seems somewhat knowing of the EU, but he doesn't have any videos on the EU. But that being said, none of his videos are really about canon either. And if we're counting the entire expanded universe, that technically counts the 6 films, which he has discussed. So I'm at like this impasse where I don't know where I should put him. But if he were to make EU content in the future, then he could easily move up. But I don't think his content's bad. It doesn't deserve F tier, and I already know about him, so I can't put him in don't know them. So this is the only spot I could really logically place him in.
Okay, yeah, I think that's fair. As long as he doesn't bash the EU or anything. If he's just talking about the films, I mean, some people's forte is just the films, and there is some EU aspects of the films as it relates to like behind the scenes characters that you don't really see too much in the films, and how they have a backstory. Like take Tales from the Cantina, Tales from Jabba's Palace, that sort of thing. A lot of people just love that content, and that's fine. You're muted, Alex.
I don't know why that keeps happening, but it keeps happening on occasion. I'm not pressing anything. Yeah, he had like one comment about TCW, which I found a little annoying, but hey, everybody's entitled to like what they want to like, so that's fine. So he has watched something beyond the films. I don't know if that's all he knows about beyond the films, but he has mentioned that in one of his videos. But yeah, so that's why I decided to put him there. I put the 501st Legion. I know that they're a charity and everything. But I don't know like what kind of content they make or anything. I don't know if it's super EU focused. I just know that they're a charity, so I left them in room to move up, but I don't know too much about them.
Yeah, I don't think they're considered an EU YouTube channel. I mean, I'm not dissing what they do for charity. They work with the Twin Sons Foundation to distribute the books to the hospitals, but as it relates to an EU YouTube channel, I don't think they fit the criteria to be considered.
That's fair. Then yeah, well, I guess room to move up if they decide to make EU content. Then I guess I don't know. I removed the D's and E's, but that's probably where they would be placed if I still had them. Scoundrels Cantina. This one was a trickier case because I know that they are fans of the EU, but they also consistently talk about like Bad Batch and stuff. They try to like do this dual canon sort of thing, like kind of like Star Wars timeline
Right.
.net does,
Yeah.
which is I don't know. I don't know how often they actually talk about the EU. I know they have, but I'm at this place where if they talk about the EU more often, then maybe I can move them up more. But for now, I think they're just kind of stuck there.
From his appearances, well, there's two of them, but I think one normally appears on Matt Wilkins' channel, and
Hmm.
he has discussed the novels in the past, like what he's reading.
Yeah,
So he does read the EU. He
yeah,
just
for sure.
doesn't really make videos on it per se. So
Yeah,
I don't know where you put him, but I guess here, for the sake of not putting him anywhere else, is fine.
yeah, yeah. And we already kind of went into why Sheev Talks is where he is,
Yeah,
and same with
yeah,
Drunken Rancor. So and Slav. So that's pretty much that. And you were there at the beginning when I talked about
yeah.
Ryan Kennel. Same with Matu. You're pretty much there. Well, you weren't there for Scott Johnson. I put you there because
I
you.
appreciate that. Even though I
Yeah,
only have two videos,
yeah.
I started
Well,
doing videos and they were unlisted. You know, I was just
yeah,
sending them to people as a joke. But
yeah,
I may make more videos in the future just to show off the collection and whatnot. So thank you
yeah,
for doing that. That was
yeah.
overly generous, I think.
No, no, no. I mean, you've been on Matt's and Christopher's and other people's live streams for years now. You've been super influential, I think. I've seen you for years now talking about the EU, and it's been great seeing you around. And you know, while your content may be slim on your actual channel, there's room for improvement there. But I didn't feel like I could give you any less than a C just on the basis of the influence you've had talking to Matt and everyone else.
Okay, thank you for that.
So, yeah. And Young Jedi Knights audiobooks, I thought, the they're doing God's work. The Young Jedi Knights is super expensive to get, and so it's nice to have this free access to it on YouTube. But at the same time, they're not doing like what Marcel does or anything with the audiobooks. It's just like an AI voice, in a monotone voice going over the story. And it's nothing original. Like it's somebody else's story that they're just, releasing free to the public to be able to enjoy since it's hard to come by, which again is super admirable, but I didn't think deserved anywhere higher than a C.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, that's something really anybody could do. It's just they choose to invest the time in that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how much the junior. I think they're doing the Young Jedi Knights, the Junior Jedi Knights, maybe like the Galaxy of Fear too, but
Yeah.
they're behind a paywall, I think. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. Putting them
Yeah.
here is fine, I guess.
Yeah. Twin Sons Foundation. I mean, I know that there's like a lot of SWOTOR stuff on their channel. I don't know how much they actually actively talk about the EU, but I felt like morally I could not. I had to at least place them at C because, if we're just talking about like what they've done for the fandom, easy S. But because it's about YouTubers specifically, I thought it was respectable to at least put them at C because of all the hard work and effort they've done within the expanded universe over the years. But as a purely like EU content channel, kind of lacking.
Yeah, the one thing that wasn't discussed on Noah's stream a couple days ago was the
Mhm.
fact that they do, or they used to do, the live streams of their table at celebrations. They've done
Oh,
that in the past couple years back, and they did commentary like nonstop. They were just trying to find things to talk about. Authors were coming up to the tables and whatnot. Some of the stuff they caught, some of the stuff they didn't, but it was valuable to have an EU presence at Celebration, to have that live streamed. I don't think anyone else has done that on this list. So for
yeah.
that, that definitely ranks them up a little bit. I might even put them at B just for that.
Well, because you're here, I'm willing to concede that and put them in B. No problem. Um, Up next though on C was Corey's datapad, which uh, Brennan didn't include Eckhart's ladder, but I kind of just placed that in the same spot since they do the live streams together on the reviews of the expanded universe. Um, I consider putting them lower, but like they're not a bad channel, and they do focus primarily on canon now, but they consistently have their live streams where they together discuss. They go through like a book study of whatever book, whether that be the Callista trilogy or whatever they're talking about. And I decided to leave them at C because while they may talk about canon a lot, they are probably some of the biggest voices on YouTube that actually still discusses the expanded universe and could introduce people to the expanded universe. And I thought, to be fair, they should at least have a C. But I could easily be convinced to maybe drop them down.
Is this Eckhart's ladder? It's so small I
Uh,
can't barely read
uh
it.
this is Corey's datapad.
Oh,
This is
Corey's
his. this kid's co-host
Got it.
on their reviews. Yeah,
Got
and I
it.
kind of
Yeah.
just lumped them together.
Okay. Well, since he's associated with Eckhart's Ladder, they gave The Heart of the Jedi on Amazon in 2021 a boost. So
Yeah,
the fact that he mentioned that, the fact that he was willing to come on Matt Wilkins' live stream,
yeah,
any cross collaboration like that is good for us. So
yeah.
I'm fine with putting him there.
Alrighty. And then after that, we have the Lore Master. I don't know a lot about this person, but people told me that it's a dual, like they make lore videos on canon and the EU. But if it's pretty 50-50, I'm content with leaving it at C.
Yep, that's fine.
And I know nothing about the SWOTOR is whatever, but
Teresa.
Teresa. But it's yeah, go ahead.
She's associated with Legends Con. So she's the number one, like, I don't know if she does YouTube. I guess she does YouTube, but it's primarily Twitch because it's video game focused for the Old Republic. So if you're a fan of the Old Republic, I can't say that I am, but she is the number one content creator for that game. So
yeah,
because no one else on this list is really focused in that area, if that's your thing, C is fine with me.
Honestly, well, if it's that unique though, I might place it at B just for that.
Okay.
Because I include, like doing stuff that no one else is doing. Cause like I do reviews, Matt does reviews, so it's not as what I'm doing isn't as special. But if it's something that no one else is doing, I think that deserves some props. So I'll leave that at B, even though I don't know a lot about it. But the next one is New Jedi Order reviews. Now the thing about this channel is they haven't uploaded in several months, which is kind of disappointing. And I don't know what's going on with their actual life because I don't know them personally. There might be stuff going on, but they were just fan that was going through the New Jedi Order for the first time, which is completely fine, and I thought deserving of a C. With hoping that they make
I
more
thought
content.
they released the unabridged audiobooks of New Jedi Order. Is that the channel that does that, and then they stopped?
No, that's the one after that. I think that's the Anakin Skywalker one, or Anakin Solo, or whatever it says here.
Okay.
Yeah, the one before that's just reviews. No, you're right though. It's the one next to it. I think is the one that's doing that. The NGO one's just going through it, talking about it.
Okay, I haven't.
But I thought those. Yeah, I think they're both respectable C, but I don't think they're making much content right now.
Okay, I'm fine with C.
And then we move on to B, where I kind of already discussed with you OG, Quality, and Callum. I don't know if you're still here for Lance, but Lance I placed B because he's super influential now. He got started on Instagram, which is probably where he's the most popular and famous. And he's introducing a lot of people on Instagram to the expanded universe, which is super commendable because he's doing, like lore dumps on Instagram and character like profiles and whatnot. So he's introducing a lot of people to that stuff that may have not known about before through a different platform, which is super important.
Yeah.
As for YouTube, though, he only started making content because I asked him to. And I kind of like really bugged him about it. And he doesn't have that much on there. And his live streams tend to be pretty random, where it's not a specific EU topic. You kind of and sometimes it's just you with a bunch of younger people just talking about whatever.
I get the link. I get the link on my phone on the Discord, and I log in, and I don't know what I'm gonna get. It could be anything. Mostly it's Slav and Titus talking about weird stuff, but it's always fun.
Yeah,
so.
And it's also just because like it's a joke that we have where like he doesn't read that much EU. I mean, he's read probably about like a third of the EU. So it's another thing where it's like I don't know if he's deserving of that Star Wars EU teen like ranking.
Yeah.
But he's a solid dude. He cares about the EU, wants it continued. Still watches canon, which is fine, but it is a little dip in my favor, in my opinion. But that's his right to do so. So I think B is pretty respectable.
I'm fine with that.
And then Only Good Games is another good guy. He has some takes that I don't necessarily agree with. The supernatural encounters being one of them. Along with he has some interesting opinions on Legacy, though he's never discussed it on channel. So on his channel, so I'm not going to rank that against him. He's talked about that privately on what he feels about the Legacy comics, which is fine. But as for his content, some of it, really doesn't matter for this list. He talks about Yu-Gi-Oh and stuff, which is something else he's super interested in, which is completely fine. And he also just does topical discussions on the expanded universe, whether that be, like Darksiders in it or or whatever. So that's all really fun and interesting. He had Brennan on in a video. And he plans on going through New Jedi Order and reviewing it because he's never actually read New Jedi Order. He read Legacy of the Force, Dark Nest, or he read Legacy of the Force and Fate of the Jedi, but he never read Dark Nest or New Jedi Order. So it's gonna be a first time for him.
Yeah, he's also, I think he bought the imprint copy on eBay recently,
Oh
and
yeah, he did.
some of the displays. So he's definitely big in the collecting realm, or at least an up and coming person in the collecting realm. I definitely need to talk to him about supernatural encounters. We need to find a way to change his mind because he's totally wrong about that. But
Yeah.
besides that, he seems like a good guy, so I'll agree to keep him there.
Yeah. And then up next, I kind of did a 2-in-1. The Geeks Addict, Matthew, great guy. Tusken Raider is his other channel. You know, he talks about the EU, which is good, but he also uploads infrequently when it comes to the Expanded Universe reviews and kind of takes forever to talk about it. But he's still a great guy, and I don't know. He was one of the first people I saw actually talking about the Expanded Universe, so I felt like that was deserving of at least a B.
Yeah, a Geek Static I found even before Matt.
Oh, really?
Somehow, like the algorithm got me to him before I found Matt Wilkins. So
Oh,
he had a big channel. He had some shout outs like in some of the new canon books like Battlefront. His quote about the book is printed on the paperback, I believe.
oh, really?
So yes, they sent him review copies, and that's why he like reviewed the new canon. He's a good guy. I think he's finished with the new canon entirely. He's going to switch to EU content. So I think he's great. One of his best videos, by the way, is the Waru Arts and Crafts one, where he did that with Spam and Cheerios. He just made like a Waru figurine. It was amazing. Like that's one of the best EU videos on YouTube right now, in my opinion.
Mm. Yeah. So I thought that was pretty respectable. Well, it easily could be convinced to put him in A, though, if somebody were to argue that.
Yeah,
But I think B is pretty respectable.
Yeah.
Red 5 Reviews is another guy who's been on live streams with Matt before. There's one distinctly I remember that's I hold personal to my heart because it was during, I think, lockdowns, and this is when I was trying to talk to Matt a little bit more. But I left a comment during the live stream, like right before he ended it. I said because he said his name was Matthew or whatever. I forget how it went, but I went, "Oh, my dad's name is Matthew too," and Matt goes, "Are you my son from the future?" And then I proceeded, my comment afterwards was, "Well, I'm brown, so maybe if your wife cheated on you or something or something to that effect." And he died and just started laughing and the stream ended. So, but that was one that he was on for, that Red 5 Reviews was on for. So
that's hilarious.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
Red 5 Reviews, he's done some videos where they go to half price books and just look for paperback versions of films, but they also look and see what Star Wars EU content is at those stores. And that's great for me because I don't have one of those stores in my area. So it's just amazing to see what's available out there in other parts of the country. So
yeah,
I think that's really interesting when he does those vlogs where he and Matthew like go out and search for things. That's good content.
Yeah. He's actually he was here earlier. He said that today at some point he's gonna have his Dark Lord Rise of Darth Vader review out. So make sure to be looking out at his channel for that.
Okay, awesome.
But yeah, I thought it was pretty respectable to put him in B. But I could easily be convinced to put him in A as well.
Yep. I think we've talked about pretty much all the other ones. I'm sorry you had to go through this twice.
No, you're okay. I don't know if you were there for Josh Adams, but I ranked him higher than the Young Jedi Knights one because he's actually doing like voice acting and sound effects and all that for Republic Commando. So I thought that was deserving of at least a B.
Okay, for the novels or for the video game?
For the novels.
Okay, awesome. So he and Marcel are doing that voice acting of different eras in the timeline. That's great.
Yeah. And then I put the official Old Republic account there because I know a lot of people don't like it, but regardless, kind of like TCW, it's canon to the expanded universe. So the fact that the entire channel is solely based around SWTOR automatically makes it a super EU channel. So I thought that was deserving of a B.
Yep, that's fair.
And then we get to the more fun ones. A tier. We may have discussed this before. Now, Stevie B is an interesting case, and I may be a little biased because he only has a couple EU videos and he does still discuss canon. But I just think it's really unique what he's doing because, of course, a lot of people review, the big YouTubers and stuff, but he took the time to talk to a lot of us that are smaller and just kind of hear our story about how we came to the expanded universe and came to fall in love with it and stuff. And I just think what he's doing is really, really cool and interesting. So that way you get a lot more names out there and just get to talk about Star Wars for a bit. And I thought as he's diving more into the EU, he's liking it more and more. And he's doing reviews for all the stuff that he's going through. So I think he was easily deserving of an A tier. But
Oh yeah, he's got some interviews. He interviewed John Jackson Miller,
mm-hmm.
and I like how he's going through like the whole community, getting everybody's take on how they get into Star Wars and what their favorite things are. He's really good at interviewing people, which is a rare skill to have. So
Yeah,
I
absolutely
think
agreed.
putting him at A is definitely okay for me.
Surfer 76 is a newer one. In fact, most of his content in the past had nothing to do with Star Wars. In fact, one of the ones I remembered recently, because he joined Two Star Wars Nerds Discord, which is where I think I first started seeing him. But he had reviewed the sequel book to Nightmare Before Christmas, which I thought was really interesting. But as he joined the community and stuff, I just started seeing him pump out these EU videos, and they're consistently really good and interesting. They're not reviews or anything; they're just kind of topical videos about like what was going on in between these years. The stories that were coming out in between episode 1 and 2, and the multimedia project with the 2003 TCW and I don't know, you could see the passion behind him and stuff and the years that he's been a fan of the expanded
Yeah.
universe. And I just think he's really great. And even though he's only been here for a short time, I think for me, I also love the kind of like old, early 2010 YouTube vibe I get from him, where it's just, a guy and a camera. And that's why I think it's deserving of A tier.
Yeah, that guy seems like he's been a fan. He may not have been on YouTube. He may not have been watching Matt Wilkins over the years, but there's a lot of fans of the expanded universe that aren't on social media. And sometimes like him, he's finally found the community and he's doing reviews about that. And you can tell he's definitely been a fan for many years. So that guy's great. I really like him. You're welcome, Stevie B.
Yeah. But so I think we're pretty much in agreement there. Legends literature is one I found just last year, I think. But what I love about him is how he edits his videos and how he just unapologetically, if he has nothing to say about a book, he'll review it for like 3 minutes. They can go up to 15 minutes. They can also be like a 3-minute long video. And it just depends on how much he cared about it to give a review for it. But they're consistently really good videos. And like the retention span for a lot of YouTube watchers is not very high. And I have videos that go up to 40 minutes. And I know only the people that really love me are going to bother to sit through all that. But like, 10 minutes and 5 minutes is kind of like that perfect medium for a lot of people to actually sit down and watch the whole thing. And so I think it's a pretty solid channel and deserving of A tier.
Yeah, I haven't checked this one out personally. There's a lot of review channels on YouTube that just review the books. Everybody has their favorite. I guess it depends what style you like personally. Like I like Meg reviews. She goes in depth, but Matt Wilkins, he puts out so many review videos. It's like, it's so hard to keep up, man. I tell you, like, spread them out, take it easy, because a lot of the time I just find myself interested in a specific era. So I just want to see the books, book reviews, what people think about certain things in this era. And some people catch on to certain things, some people don't. So it's definitely a matter of personal preference. There's a lot out there if you like reviews. So I don't know. I think I trust your opinion with A for this guy, even though I haven't seen his reviews.
Definitely check him out when you get the chance, though.
Okay.
Spencer, Star Wars Library. I love about him. Same thing with Legends Literature, actually. They're both reviewing the books in publication order other than chronological order, which is unique because most people either just kind of pick and choose what they're going to talk about or they go in chronological order. But they're going in publication order, which is really cool. And Spencer, again, is another one where it's the sort of like just pick up the camera and go early 2010s. What I love about that. And I don't know. I enjoy his personality on there. He's seems like a very chill guy. And definitely being on a live stream with Matt, Noah, and Jeremy helped his favor a lot when reviewing the sort of the Jedi fan fiction. So to me, wasn't as easy, but I ultimately decided A was fair for him.
Yeah, Spencer's a good guy. He's been on Matt's More Civilized Age. He does reviews in the style that Nathan P. Butler used to do, except he's continuing it. I think
Yeah,
he's past the point where Nathan quit. So now he's in the early Bantam era, and
yeah.
his stuff is great. He's also very knowledgeable about the Star Wars LCG by Fantasy Flight, which has EU collections. He's done a series of articles on the expandeduniverse.com about that. So Spencer's content's great. I know he has a kid, so that it makes it difficult to upload videos. So his content's not really regular, but when he does put it out, it's great stuff.
Mm-hmm. And then we have Stupid Chainsaw Productions, Jeremy, who has a podcast with Noah and Dylan, and he's one of the earlier people I saw on YouTube making Expanded Universe content. I remember when I first started getting into it that he was one of the first ones I saw in his old house before freaking burnt down, with his review of Mall Lockdown with his clean shaven face in his basement. So I don't know. I remember him being around since I was, younger. So before I even graduated high school. So I think he was deserving of an A, but I'm interested to hear your opinion as well on Jeremy.
Well, he goes back to the Minox Nest podcast. So he was one of Matt Wilkins' early followers back when he did like Google Hangouts. I
Yeah.
knew nothing about that community at that point. So, I mean, he's been in certain communities longer than I have. So, I mean, I think that makes him one of the OG content creators. So, I may even put him at S
That's
personally.
fair.
But since you
I'll
have
do that.
Nathan P. Butler, since you have Nathan P.
Oh,
Butler in A, I could see him being at A as well. So
okay. I guess I'll keep him here, but I'm easily could be convinced to put him in S.
okay,
And then we have, you just talked about it, Meg Reviews. I love how she goes in depth with everything. I love her format. It's very formal, very concise sections of it. I love that she goes out of her way to put on like costumes and stuff. And I think her channel is very solid. And she's currently on EU March Madness with Brennan and Marcel and Matt. So that's really awesome for her. And she's been interviewed by Stevie and even Star Wars Timeline, who's on this list. So I think she's well deserving of an A, maybe even an S. But I decided on A just because I don't know. I thought it
yeah,
was fair.
she's very well spoken. Her reviews are very thought out. She's an old school fan revisiting the EU again for the second time. What is Matt Wilkins doing on? Like,
Why is he doing on my stream of all things?
yeah,
He didn't show up on Noah's.
but Meg Reviews is great. I mean, she puts so much time into putting out a costume and making it fit the book and all that. So I definitely agree. She's top tier S or A for me.
Yeah. You know what? To balance it all a bit more, I'll put Meg Reviews at the top.
Okay,
Got a nice little
I'm
even
more
with
than
S.
okay with that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then of course we have Mandalore. Now he's very staunch, he was. I think he's mellowed out a little bit on TCW not being canon, even though it is. No matter how you feel about it, it's canon to the EU. But that being said, he's probably one of the biggest expanding universe channels with the most subscribers, and he is explicitly only Legends content. He does not discuss Disney at all. I mean, he might have a podcast where he has before, or listen to other people talk about it, kind of like how Matt has done with some of his friends. But he just consistently puts out really in-depth, really well edited and made EU lore videos. So I thought at the very least he was deserving of A, if not S. I'm not like the biggest fan of him, which is why I didn't put him in S personally, but I can see why a lot of people might put him in S tier.
Yeah, I didn't have a problem with him personally. He's very knowledgeable. It's just the content that Mandalore used to put out, and he's since softened up on this, was the idea that TCW isn't EU. It must be excluded by fan decision, and obviously we can't make that decision, right?
Yeah,
It
we
is part of
can't.
the EU. Yes, we know it doesn't fit, but everybody says that. I mean, it's not hard to figure that out if you actually read the content, particularly in relation to the 2003 Clone Wars. So I feel like he has a following that are a little bit too gung ho about taking TCW out of the continuity, and
Yeah.
that's something I don't agree with.
Yeah, I
But
know.
Mandalore himself, like he is personally softened up on that. So,
Yeah,
he's got a big following. I don't agree with some of his past takes, but
same.
there's no denying he's a top tier, EU creator.
Yeah. And we already discussed Nathan P. Butler, so we can just move
Right.
on to the obvious ones. I think all of this is pretty staunch and fair. Quillen Voss, you could talk about him. I'm heavily biased. I run a podcast with him that hasn't come out yet. He, for some reason, seems to say I'm a big influence in his life, which is really scary because I'm not somebody to follow. But he just, he has a time obviously because he's younger, but he just consistently pumps out that content, and it's consistently good content, and you can tell how knowledgeable he is of the expanded universe considering his age. I find it immensely impressive, and all the effort and stuff he puts into, stay connected with the community and talk to everybody that he can and be kind to everybody. And I just think he's an absolutely fantastic YouTuber and friend, and I could not, even if I didn't know him, I could not in my good graces put him anywhere lower than S.
Yeah, I'm definitely biased too. I'm biased on a lot of these people. Brennan is definitely very knowledgeable. He's an up and coming young YouTuber content creator. I think he'll one day take the place of Matt Wilkins.
I think so too.
When people like us get too old to make content.
Yeah,
so
when you guys retire.
yeah, I think he's great. His content ideas are very original. He's done stuff for the expandeduniverse.com on different sorts of species, all the lizard species, all the cat species. I've never seen that idea before. So very original. I did a video on collecting with him, and he's a great guy. Yeah, I was surprised how much he knew about, all the content from all the years. Very, very knowledgeable.
It's insane how much he knows. I'm like, where did you come from? He's like Matt plus Chris plus a little bit of you with his collections. It's insane. And like Dylan with the vast knowledge he has. Like, it's like all morphed into this one kid. And it's insane to me. It's crazy.
Yeah, and most of the stuff that we're talking about, it's like it had to have been before he was born, right? I think he's still in high school. So I was surprised he knew of things like the Galaxy, the Star Wars Galaxy's MMO card game. I'm like, how do you know about that?
Yeah, he knows more than me, and I'm older than him. But he puts me to shame with the EU knowledge. It's crazy. And yeah, absolutely, the kid is going places. He's also currently, after my video about what I would like to see if the EU got continued, or what I would like to write if I was ever blessed with the opportunity, was a short story in between the final Young Jedi Knights book and the first book in of New Jedi Order Vector Prime, explaining why Jacen Solo and not Tahiri, Tino Call are not together. And so he was so inspired that he decided to actually write it himself. So, until we get an official story. So it's really cool. And we decided that a perfect catalyst, without too many spoilers, is that there's a character introduced in the last couple books of Young Jedi Knights, a character that's the daughter of somebody from the Brian Daly books.
Anja, I forget.
Anja, yeah. She's nowhere to be seen in New Jedi Order or anywhere else. So what happened?
Yeah.
So that's what we're talking about right now together as we write it. So
I was hoping Kevin J. Anderson could provide some insight on how some of his characters end up, but I don't think he's really read a lot of the later continuity, post NJO. So he probably wouldn't be the best source to talk about that. But it's always interesting how some of these characters that didn't really get an ending, how they ended up. And I don't want to end a short, quick, cheap ending like you get in, some of the essential guides. I want a real story that how they developed, if they die, who they, whatever their fate is. So
so obviously it's not official, but that is something that I mean, I kind of came up with the ideas. I'm helping him with some things, but he's the one writing it. Because what I really wanted was to explain mainly why Jacen and Tino Call aren't together when it seemed like the relationship was just starting to bloom at the end of Young Jedi Knights. In fact, I think they started dating at the end of it. So I wanted to know what event would cause them to not only break up, but for Jacen to, because he is essentially a completely different character at the start of Vector Prime. He is not the Jacen we saw at the end of Young Jedi Knights. And I feel like that's an issue. So what big event would cause Jason to not only break up with Tino Ka, but just focus on his studies? So the whole thing with Anja is going to help, I think, flesh out that reason.
Yeah, I mean, part of it was he cut off her arm, right, in the fourth book. But as that developed, I mean, that was over with, right? By that point,
Yeah.
that was resolved. But he
Yeah.
going into NJO, yes, Jason was very negative about the Force. You know, he had a totally different perspective than Anakin and Luke. And yes, there was definitely a change, and you'd want to know the circumstances behind that, right? How he got so negative on the Force. So there's definitely a story to be told there, whether it's fan fiction or whether it's an idea from one of the authors. I think Kevin J. Anderson would probably know at least what transpired in Vector Prime in the early NJO. I think he's probably familiar with that.
Yeah.
But I think last time somebody asked him a question, like he didn't know what happened in the Legacy of the Force or Fate of the Jedi or anything like that. So
yeah,
it's interesting.
Absolutely. Well, that was a little bit off topic, but I just want to mention that because I think it's really cool because he also wants to become a writer, I think. So he's kind of using that as practice.
Right.
So, and then the Revanchist I thought was an easy ask because, again, the community, you know, Matt and everyone, since the decanonization of the EU in 2014, all the way up into 2023, no one thought to like make unabridged audiobooks of the short stories till now. And I thought that was such a unique idea. And he does it so well with his editing, with his voice and everything. I thought by sheer uniqueness alone was an easy ask for me.
Yeah, that's definitely a great thing to do. I think he started by going through like the Tales of the Jedi Companion from West End Games and just recording short stories out of that. And now I think he's in the Tales of the Jedi like proper comic series. Even though there are Tales of the Jedi audio dramas out there, I think his are very unique. It's a great idea to get those short stories out there on YouTube.
Yeah, a lot of them are hard to find too. Like there are some that were only on the like the Hyperspace website and stuff, and it's a chore to kind of go through the internet and find it. So it's really nice to just be able to go on YouTube and there you go.
For sure. And the West End Game stuff is on Joe's site, but it takes forever to load because the PDFs are huge.
Yeah.
So it's great to have those handy, you know, just short, sweet, even if they're 5-minute videos of just the audio dramas. I think he has a great voice. I think he's the top. I told him this before. He's the top EU narrator, at least for you know, audio drama type stories now. So it's great to see him. I totally agree. Put him at S tier, even though I'm very biased.
Yes, and so am I, obviously. But and then of course Matt Wilkins. I mean, what more needs to be said? I mean, he's kept the community going for a long time. I mean, I want to be clear about this though. Christopher Nelson started the website, theexpanduniverse.com, and was in charge of it. But due to, you know, life events and stuff, Matt Wilkins has kind of taken over the leadership role of that. But that being said, Matt Wilkins is the one kind of keeping that website alive and has been keeping the, you know, the community going, making all of his videos and stuff. You know, that's where a lot of us have kind of come to know each other, come to know you, come to know so many others through Matt. So I feel like easily, even though despite he kind of, you know, brain leaks sometimes and refuses to fix some errors, like you go, oh, Vergier, that man over there. And like, but it's a woman. He's like, I don't care. I'm not going to correct what I said. And like, come on. He's like, no, I don't care enough to do it. So, but that being said, he still is super influential in the fandom, and to put him anywhere lower than S is flawed. Matt Wilkins, you're wrong. You don't deserve F. Shut up.
I agree with everything you said. He's talking himself down in the chat, you know, he's trying to be funny, but you know, Matt Wilkins, this many years out, it's just amazing how he keeps the EU community a thing, still, you know, going concern event this many years out. If it was a couple of years ago, I would put Nathan P. Butler ahead of him just because of his podcast content, but the fact that he keeps the EU going strong. I mean, how many years we're going on 9 years almost next month. So it's just insane how the community's grown. And I think it's stronger than ever before. So that's all very much attributable to Matt Wilkins.
Absolutely.
Bravo, sir.
Oh, okay. That's fair. The website was your idea together. But like, as far as I understand it, Christopher was kind of the one that was more in charge. And then he kind of fell off and you took a main leadership role. But
I think that developed because a lot of the previous EU websites like theforce.net, Club Jade, all those kind of went away or talked bad about the EU, post 2014. So the idea was to create a EU
Completely
website.
fair.
Yeah, they both ran it. So
Yeah.
props
But now
to
you're the
them
sole.
for doing it.
Yeah. Now you're the sole one in charge, though, because Christopher's not doing anything with it now, right?
Oh, he wants a stream link. Matt wants.
Oh, you want it? I'll send it again. I mean, we're gonna end it soon, but yeah, of course. Having Matt Wilkins in my video would only help me, so can't deny that. So he can insult me. So he can insult me and tell me why I love Palpatine so much. Because the funniest thing too, though, is when I first started like talking to him like on live streams and stuff, he treated me like he treats Brennan. We're just like super sweet and nice. Then something happened where I mentioned naked Palpatine once. Now that's all I am now. I'm just naked Palpatine guy.
At least he doesn't treat you like Marcel by calling you Dylan on the EU March Madness videos, right?
That was so funny. I was like,
Marcel, you got to get him back. You got to get back at him at some point.
How can you compare him to Dylan? I mean, I guess they're both. They both. I don't know. I'm trying to say here.
Yeah, nothing against Dylan. It's just
I love Dylan. Dylan's great.
Can't take.
Yeah, I just think it's hilarious. Grade F. Shut up. I'm not gonna add you if you keep the grade F. Fix it. I see you. Fix it. Put best YouTuber. You stupid. Okay. Hello.
No, it was you. It's just off camera. Sorry, I'm eating. Off camera. You were saying, but Matt, I want to talk more about Naked Sheev, and I was like, I don't even know who it is. You said it's Palpatine, but Sheev's his name in the new canon. And I was like, Alex.
Oh man, what? Alex, is this true?
No, it's slander.
Don't let him.
No, it's impossible.
No, it's impossible.
So, no, how the website got started. Chris was one of the big donors for the first billboard, and thereby he got to be on a podcast with me. Well, I treated him like I treat every EU fan as beneath me, and I had him on the channel. I'm kidding. And I had him on the channel, and we started talking, and man, I really started liking this guy. You listen to Chris talk for like just 2 minutes, you're like, man, this is like NPR on steroids here. This is great stuff. Exactly. He's so calm, cool, and collecting. He's like, and it's kind of like when you do it. And he's very poetic in his words. But anyway, I said after it's done, it's like, hey man, I said that was a lot of fun. I said I'm being serious. I want you to come back on. I said I'm not just saying that to be nice. A lot of people say we'll have to have you back on. No, I'm not going to have you back on. But then Alex somehow keeps getting the link to my streams. Anyway, but I always say, hey, I said, I know people say this all the time, but I said, I really would like to have you back on. I say, oh yeah, I enjoyed this too. And I said, you know what I really wish we had? And I had told him because a buddy of mine had just recently moved away. I had asked him about putting together a website for me, but he accepted a job, moved away. And I told Chris that. I said, it's a really shame because now that, the force.net is garbage and all these other places, I said, I wish there was a website I could go to these days to still get EU news. And he said, oh, you know what? He said, I think I can help with that. I was like, really? And so we started plotting together what we wanted. We had some good stuff. We had some failed things on there. I really wanted the forums to come back, but forums were a thing of the past. That was in the 2000s. You logged into a forum. That was, that's dated social media or whatnot.
Right.
So even though Reddit still exists, tell me how that's different. Anyway.
It's all on Discord now. Discord.
Discord. So something else is going to upend it. But we had forums on there for a short time and got rid of it. The EU reading order is something I've always wanted on there, and it finally got on there. I wanted to make sure I finished the series first, and then Caleb, who is helping me run it right now, is he's updating that. Mainly he's updating the timeline for me, and making any site changes I need. So I'm not really running it on my own either. And I've never really been on my own because you say, and I appreciate the kind words. I do. You're still garbage. You're not gonna get anything from me. But But it's because I love Alex so much that I pick on him.
Yeah.
But it is this sounds cheesy too, but it's a bunch of contributors. Scott doesn't even know this, but Scott got the highest viewed post last February. Yeah, his
that's because there's a whole separate community of just Star Wars CCG players, and a lot of them are EU fans. They may not show up on the streams or whatnot, but behind the scenes, I've seen their bookshelf. They have a lot of the books, even though they haven't read anything. They are fans.
Yeah. So did you see that? The guy that's posting Matt Chat exclusive videos to the site isn't getting the views that one article did. And I just got the report today, Scott. I was going to let you know, but may as well let you know live. But anyway, there's so many good, and I mean, okay, I'll talk about it. It actually really is a good podcast that Alex and Brendan will be on, mainly because of Brendan probably. But
yes,
no, y'all. Here's the thing, and here's the key. And I think I told you this when I listened to the first one. I said, because you're like, well, guy, it's not as it's not as good as we whatever. Well, we're working on it. It's like, guys, it's two people talking about the expanding universe, a random topic, and having fun. That's great. Yeah. That's really what you want. You talk about the Monarch's Nest, which was an utter disaster. But because we were so off topic and there were so many, there was no edit button, right? So constantly Tim and Tristan are fighting. Daniel is doing something on his own. He's mumbling something in his Joker voice. Chaos has erupted, and I'm just trying to right the ship. It was lovable chaos. It's fun. It was a good memory. I enjoyed when I brought the surviving cast back for one, and I wouldn't be opposed to doing that again if those guys wanted to get back on. It's just kind of everyone's life's kind of gone differently. But I remember when I told this to Dylan, I said, Dylan, he said, I used to love Monarch's Nest. It's like, oh, I'm sorry about that. I said, we could do much better. He's like, no. He said, he just felt like you were in a room with a bunch of EU fans. Mm-hmm. They're just talking, having a great time. And that's what y'all are doing there. There's some great, Scott, I've already told you, I don't even know the CCG stuff, but you are exactly right. There's a big interest in that. People who aren't even looking into our channel, looking at our website, will look for that, information about that and find the article, right, and read it.
There's YouTube channels specifically devoted just to a sealed product from the game, right? Or just devoted to like grading of the cards, or just devoted to deck lists, going back to conventions 20 years ago. It's crazy how people are still involved in the game, and there's been a resurgence in the last couple of years because everybody's found their old collections sitting in the closet over the pandemic, when they were stuck at home. So there's a lot of interest in that game, and although they don't publicly tout the EU, they are EU fans.
Yeah, and you prove that in the articles, and I'm going to promote it again, folks. You haven't read Scott's articles, look it up. You can look it up by author too, and just read all his stuff, because that's obviously what people are doing in February. But the thing is, though, with that, my buddy, I think I told you this, my buddy found his complete set. He even has one set of the Naboo one, which is super rare.
Yeah, thousands of dollars. Yeah, especially if he has the ultra rares. The alternate art is crazy.
I don't know, but he was collecting it all the way to the bitter end, he said.
Okay, good for him.
Because he never got off. That product left him. He didn't leave the product, so he was one of the last few buying, I guess.
Yeah, a lot of people poo-pooed on the last couple sets because they were episode 1, and episode 1 for whatever reason didn't sell too much. Too much Jar Jar, I guess. Too much Jar Jar.
I think at that point they were, and you're right, there was a bunch of people, and they were my age and stuff, were like, no, we want to keep it pure. We want to keep it with the 3 original trilogies, and that's what the card game should be. Don't bring these new lamer characters in. And Mikey was all about bringing anyone in. Jar Jar was probably his favorite character to play with. Who knows? But it's Mikey from Saturday Morning Salmon Flange. Duh, people may know him. That's the friend I'm talking about. Anyway, so there's a lot of contributors on there that really make that website what it is.
Yeah.
I mean,
for
really
sure.
think about it. Yes, I'm putting the post together now, and I was kind of always doing that. I've been always putting the post together and stuff like that. But it's the people who go out there and they get the good stories. Dylan with his coverage of Horror of the Jedi.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
man. I mean, March Madness, of course, is our highest. This is our highest peak right now. And my Wix gives me emails. You broke records. Yeah, dude, because it's March. Everyone wants to know. Go out and vote too. Round 2.
Yes,
Yeah.
I just voted about an hour ago.
Results tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, just a few other the people you said. You talked about Meg reviews. I don't know if anyone does a better job on a book review than Meg does, only
Absolutely.
because not only does she talk about what happens in the book, like I've really struggled hard in my rereads. I went, that's exactly what I want to do, but now I'm just copying her. But she asked questions I don't even think about.
Yeah.
Like she'll ask them, and I told her this one time before we were recording. I said, that's the thing I really like about you is that did I bring out More Civilized Age? I don't
Not
think I
yet.
did.
I don't think so. At this
Whoops.
point. I didn't
We'll
see
have
it.
to release that. What day is Monday? Well, yeah, I may release it when I get home. But anyway, right before that, I just told her she came up with, and I don't know if she did this online or not. She does. So I'll save it for that. It was a very insightful thing that she said that I'd never really thought of before. You know, we can read this, we can look at telltale signs here, and it probably wasn't what was intended, but it definitely could be interpreted that way. And Meg just has this ability to look in between the gray areas, the unexplained, and kind of like, I bet she could have an answer for your Jason question about what happened to Jason, because she could probably come up with something that would make sense. She's one of those people who just kind of can piece things together or make things work. Who else? Brennan, I agree with you. Brennan's just doing excellent. He's doing just every time he's bringing out stuff. I mean, his content has just gotten better. I remember
I agree.
He was doing little stuff, then he went away for a little while.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, he kind of got burned out. You know, that's really what I thought. Because Nathan, you've seen people that have done this before, and they've done some, they've been some exciting videos. Excuse me, of exploring the EU,
right?
And then they finally give up because there's nothing else to talk about, and they hopped on the next thing. I mean, okay, I get it. Or you decided I don't want to do any more content anymore. I just want to watch other people's, and that's fine too. I'm not dogging anyone who does that. I'm just saying I was guessing Brendan was going to be one of those people. Well, he came back, and not only, but his content has improved exponentially to where now it's like top priority. When a bunch of videos hit on the same day, I prioritize.
Yeah.
And Brendan's are going to be up near the top.
Yeah. I don't know how much he'll care about what I have to say, but
Alex
I'm very proud of him.
Thank you for 354 subscribers, and then the next day 355. Those videos.
I do thank you videos for every 10. Okay, I just like to be thankful.
Those are gonna be lower down the list there because I'm already a fan. I don't need to be thanked again. I'm gonna unsubscribe. That's the way I'll.
Yeah, but I'm very proud of him for all the stuff that Brennan does. He's really great. And like I said before on Noah's stream, like our podcast, I'm just a mouth. I don't do any of the hard work, all the editing, all the thumbnails, all that. That's all him. All I do is run my mouth.
I know, but it takes two to tango, so those are good too. Who I can't see. My screen is way too small.
This guy, I have Marcel the Revanchist on there for his unique.
Yeah, I heard y'all talk about him, and I agree. Everyone loves audiobooks these days, and even if they could get their hands on the printed version or the digital version, they would rather listen to it.
Sometimes that's true. Both together.
So, and Scott, you're exactly right. You say, oh, I got a little bias there on him, but the thing is, though, no, what he's doing is very important.
Oh, sorry. I saw Mr. Nelson's comment.
I have no role with the site and can't be blamed for posting open. Oh, mercy.
Well, but speaking of which, I was harping on Matt for a long time, which easily deserved S tier all the way. Grade F is absolutely stupid. This is why Matt is getting too old and brain leaking because he's wrong to put himself in F tier. But I look up to you too, Matt, but Christopher Nelson is like my role model and I talked about this in the first episode of the podcast that'll be coming out next month, which everybody should go check out on the website. But he
Oh,
is
is there a tier above me?
No, not yet. Maybe I'll make one.
No, I mean, Chris,
No,
Chris
but
is definitely someone.
he's somebody I look up
mean,
to and want to.
yeah, of course, yeah. I mean, I'll hope to have a beard like his someday.
Right? But I'll
And
never
when
grow
he
a
grows
beard.
out his hair, he looks so majestic and awesome. And when I grow out my hair, I look like it. You know, I look like an idiot.
Yeah.
You look like the
Survivor
default,
Day 25.
Well,
So,
I look like I look like the kid who hangs out at the drugstore because his parents don't love him. He has nothing else to do.
Oh my
So
god!
he sits around there, hangs out, and does nothing all day. But
You
yeah,
know,
Chris
in the
looks
beginning
like
of your
some
review-
regal French,
Yeah.
royalty coming through there with his hair. I mean, I bet he wakes up and his hair is already combed. I'm just telling. He's a well-groomed man,
Matt,
which,
you know when
which
you
is
started
another
your
reason
review,
he's deserving of your A-star review. Go ahead.
but you know when you started your reviews and you had your little hair underneath your chin, for your for your play. Yeah. So if you play KOTOR, one of the default characters looks basically just like you back then.
That's
It's really
funny.
for Revan anyway. Revan looks like
No,
you.
it was there was a web series I had agreed to sign on to,
Yeah.
and they couldn't pay us. But he said, if there's anything we can do, I said, well, actually, can you do an intro? Because I'm about to do reviews of Star Wars books. And so they recorded the intro. They're the ones that did the Matt's Expanded Universe video.
Yeah, that's really awesome, though. Yeah.
So, but in exchange, my character, they said they wanted to have a soul patch. I was like, okay. And so that's why I have it on. And then, of course, I shave it when eventually the web series got canceled. My episode didn't even come up yet. Like, I was supposed to be introduced later on. They had filmed like 2 episodes, and then they found out that it was just getting expensive. And so fun-wise, what they envisioned and what they could afford didn't match up. So they called me and I said, oh, it's done. So I went, and took it off because I didn't like it.
Yeah. And then, but yeah, I overall agree with everything you said about Christopher Nelson. Luscious hair, wonderful person. And I love his review. I love his videos because they're so unique, being just about the collectibles and the expanded universe and all that. And I love his cadence and the way he talks. He's a very knowledgeable guy. And the views he has on how to get the expanded universe to continue are the ways that all of us should kind of lean our understandings. Because if we're going to have it continue, the way he goes about it is the way we're going to have it happen.
Plus, if we don't treat him nicely, then we'll never get to see Escape from Daegu.
Yeah, as he's hiding it underneath his bed. But the next one on here, which might be a bit surprising for some, I put Son of Luke because he also makes extremely unique content where it's just like update videos on stuff going on in the expanded universe, and I think that's very helpful.
He's latest news, and that's how everyone gets their news. So he's EU news. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I thought he was.
I'll get it from him. I'm like, who can? Because we used to have Dylan on the website who can make that post really quick, or sometimes Dylan would beat Son of Luke. And but Dylan's doing something called a job now, so he can't do that anymore.
Yeah. So I think that was well deserved though. And then the only other one I put Evan Nova, not Noah, at number also on S tier because I thought his videos, not everybody vibes with it, but it's really unique. No one else really does that, where they do like the Versus series and the life.
Okay, I didn't know who that was at first.
Oh, sorry. Yeah,
I don't watch his channel, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
he's been doing those videos for a while.
Yeah, for many years now.
I mean, they're fine. I mean, everyone's interested in those. Yeah.
So I just thought
Geeks Addict just showed up in the chat, so you need to improve his ranking from B maybe to S tier, just so he doesn't get offended.
No, you know what? He does not get S tier until he texts me back.
Okay. Let us know when he texts you back, then we'll move him up.
Well, I keep asking that Joker to come on a more civilized age, and as the kids say these days, he ghosts me.
How about we keep a middleman? I'll move his Geeks Addict to A, but I'll keep his Tuscan Reader at B.
Because all I want is to see his face again, to hear his voice. But I can't. I can't. No.
Yeah.
B Addict. No, B Addict. C Addict. How'd you like his excuse video? See, I still watch his videos for some reason.
how did you like his excuse video? He goes, guys, I can't read the EU because I'm reading Killer Tomatoes. Are you serious?
He's got to do that because he's on some other podcasts. You know, he's on Paper Movies and that. So.
Which, by the way, I love Paper Movies too. I won't lie. Yeah. I think that is just, they're hilarious. They're fun. Paper Movie Reviews. Like, I'm offended that I don't get asked to be on it, but at the same time, when am I going to find the time to read the book to the movie? But it's so good. It's so good. He has a lot of good channels. But yeah, I just wish we were friends.
Yeah, fair enough. We have the worst one now, because I saved it for last because I refused to do it myself because I'm not Noah, who's a little narcissist. So I'll leave it to the chat and you two since you're here. Very scary.
Noah?
The only ranking I haven't done yet is Magneto Alex.
Well, he's obsessed with Naked Palpatine, so that's definitely a negative.
Yeah, I think with Noah, are we grading Noah's channel now?
No, Alex.
I already did.
Alex, we're grading Alex's channel.
Yeah.
What do you think, Chat? You're listening.
I think he has good content. His reviews, I think, go a little bit too long.
Yeah.
Sometimes my attention span is really short. I'm burned out with reviews, right? I can only take maybe 5 minutes, unless it's Meg reviews. That's the only exception where a longer review is warranted. I think he's honestly probably between A or B. What do you think, Matt?
Let me say this. You said something in a recent video, Alex. I typed out the meanest comment ever and thought, no, I'd rather tell him live. But now, for the life of it was harping on something you said. You said something like, I don't know what I'll work on next, or something like that.
Yeah.
And I said, how about grab it? No, you said, or I don't know what I'll buy next. What?
I don't know what I said. I don't remember.
But I said, anyway, let's say you said, I don't know what I'll buy next. And I said, how about buying a stand for your cell phone so we don't see your reviews like this?
That's a great idea. That is a great idea.
How about something more eye level?
Yeah.
I can't remember because I was copying your words and talking about next time I'm going to do things differently. Maybe that was like get a stand and give us this review eye level.
Yeah.
I can't remember again, but I said, no, I don't. That's too mean of a comment to leave on there because you're not going to delete it. And then I'm going to look like a big jerk. And I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But someone, some idiot years from now is going to look at it and go, yeah, what a doofus, Like some guy put on one of my reviews, of my board game reviews. He's like, totally incoherent and point, didn't help at all, rambling and didn't help at all, whatever. Or something incohesive or whatever. And I wanted to like the post and then say, you forgot to say, and I add some more awful things about me.
Yeah.
I just thought that was super funny that, a review from it was like 18. It was one of my older reviews when I was just grabbing the camera and making noises with the figures. And I wasn't really I wasn't even big back then. I was just doing it for my own self.
Right. And remember the rules of the game, right? That's why you did that.
I'll tell you what, on one of them that I got persecuted for. It was one of my first early reviews. I was just doing it for myself to watch, when I needed to play it again. And it was Conquest of the Empire. And I put in my house rule and didn't call it a house rule. I said, the rule is, and it was a house rule. And I knew that. I was just talking to myself with my 10 subscribers, which were probably all family. And when I started getting big, people started checking the thing. That is not a rule. No, it's a house rule, dude. But come on, this is from 15 years ago. Give me a break.
Yeah.
I was 40 then.
Yeah.
But anyway, I guess so. I'll go with. You know what? I don't think you should ever rank yourself.
Yeah. I was gonna do. I was happy with C.
But if Noah is gonna have delusions of grandeur, you might as well too go up to A.
Oh, you sure about that?
Yes, because it's your channel. You're doing the ratings. You wouldn't be making the content if you didn't enjoy it. Yeah. And this is content from you enjoy. This is your perspective. This isn't the almighty. I mean, there's a lot of people out there who wouldn't put some people like Geeks Addict, who I know still hasn't texted me, is, or maybe he's just gonna. Is he gone now, Scott, from the chat?
I don't see him in the comments, so he may.
See, he made
be
that.
gone.
He made that one snarky comment and then booked. I bet.
I will say, Alex, you're getting a lot of good feedback. So doing this to rank yourself, just to get an idea, a taste of what people think of you, you're getting some good feedback. He says your channel intro is a bit too long. I kind of agree with that.
I need to preference another thing that might dock me a little bit. It's not mine. I just stole it from Dark Sinovia.
Oh, okay.
I was like, let's take something bad and use it for good.
Why would you take anything from Dark Sinovia? That's the question.
Because I was too lazy to make my own intro. Because I'm lazy.
Is it for real?
I review stuff on my couch.
Oh, wow.
Why would you take anything from Dark Sinovia? That's untrue. All right, well, I will sadly have to hop off here, but I want to say, great. I'll be watching earplugs at work here thing. But keep doing what you do. Where does Scott rank?
Scott was at a C because he doesn't have content.
I have two videos.
Oh, yeah.
One is like an inside joke that nobody would understand.
But if we're talking about like influence in the fandom, then he would be an S tier with you.
Oh, good cover up there, Alex.
All right.
Anyway, and the only reason I haven't been on CVB's channel is because he can only record on the weekends when I am watching 4 kids 3 and under by myself. So
fair enough.
Also, Red 5 since you haven't texted him back.
But I will. I haven't forgotten about him. If he's still watching, I haven't forgotten. I don't know. I don't know when. I don't know what. I don't know how. But we're gonna make it work. Something he can't do late at nights because he has an actual job. He's actually responsible for showing up early, which I can respect. But I mean, and I hate that I can only do it so late. But that's when all the kids go to bed. So I mean, I'm stuck like that. But anyway, I still want to do his channel, even though he's interviewed everyone way more interesting. It looks like on there.
Not true. Shut up.
But yeah, no, he already got you, Alex.
That's not. No, we need you.
I feel like I know Matt Wilkins so much already. I don't need an interview, but I don't know. Maybe he'll reveal stuff. Yeah.
He's gonna have boxers.
What's your favorite?
Say boxers or briefs? Yeah. And I'm gonna blow him away when I say, "Oh, he's that." There he is.
Okay, you can move him up now.
Okay, I take back half the bad things I said about him on this stream. Okay, because you don't have anything on your text history because it was sent January 25th.
Oh wow.
January 25th. I talked to you last. I think last I talked to you was Thanksgiving, but I text you January 25th. Would you be able to come on a more civilized age tomorrow night? To which you replied, crickets.
Oh, wow. So Matt, before you go, real quick, your last stream with the Legends Con folks, right? Did you get a question from any of their people asking who Legends Con News is on Twitter? Just curious. Because you may be on a stream with that guy.
No. Okay, you're out yourself. I knew, but I played it off.
Okay. They might be watching this video anyway, so who knows? I'm trying to be as polite, but trying to.
I'm well aware of that, which is funny.
Okay.
Yeah, you need to talk to. Well, I'll tell you later. I don't want to do it on the stream.
Okay.
All right. I'm gonna go. Hey, Alex, thank you so much for having me on. And guys, Alex really is a good guy. He's really got a good channel. He didn't send me Crystal Pepsi like Brendan did, which is why I don't like him as much. But
that's fair.
Other than that, at least he has Scott on here, so maybe that's why you're still watching. All right.
Yep, you're not wrong. Bye.
You're awesome, Alex. See you later.
See you, Matt.
Well, I think with that, I appreciate the A's and B's that I'm hearing from people. However, I think I'm going to split the mediums, and because I'm such a low self-esteem individual, and I'm gonna happily, contently put myself at C.
Oh, look how
I think
humble this guy
that's
is.
perfectly fair. No,
All right.
I don't.
You're
I
in
don't
good
believe I'm a
company
B or an A.
because I'm on that tier myself. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm on the same tier as Scott. So if I can be on that same tier, then I can die happy. So
Right.
I'm sure Brennan will be annoyed and put it higher when he does his own tier list, but I'm going to be content with this. But yeah, thanks for coming on. I have to go to work soon anyway.
Yep.
But this stream is obviously better than Noah's in every way, shape, and form for two reasons. You were on here, and so was Matt, which makes me better than Noah in every way, shape, and form. So I just want to make sure that was well acknowledged. In fact, if you're doing this properly, then I guess Noah would have to be D because I'm at C, and that's just naturally how it has to follow. Obviously, I'm joking, but
And
I love every.
we may or may not get the angry comments that Noah's getting in his comment stream under his video. So
Yeah, I'm sure. But
hopefully
yeah,
not.
I mean, everybody that's in the A, B, and C, and even room to improve. I think they're all, and even the more canon than EU, some of them at least, I think are all genuinely great people. I love having the EU discuss and talk about in whatever way, shape, or form that's done, and the more the merrier, I say. So keep doing what you're doing. Everybody's great. Everybody has a spot at the table, and I just love seeing EU content, no matter where it comes from. So keep at it.
Yep, agree. See you.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.